You got a John Locke quote or a piece of Kantian wisdom you can throw at me?
Those guys were more focused on rules and regulations. For spiritual stuff, you gotta turn to the east.
I'll take anything you got. Hit me.
Picture a wave in the ocean. You can see it, measure it, its height, the way the sunlight refracts when it passes through, and it's there, and you can see it, you know what it is, it's a wave. And then it crashes on the shore, and it's gone. But the water is still there. The wave was just a different way for the water to be for a little while. And that's one conception of death for a Buddhist. The wave returns to the ocean, where it came from, and where it's supposed to be.
Not bad, Buddhists.
Not bad. None of this is bad.
I'm recording on Audacity. I'm recording on Zoom. I'm recording on Audacity. I'm recording me and you.
That made me think of something that I guess I can talk about. Lil yesterday watched a DVD of a play I was in a couple years before we started dating.
On stage.
We're getting there. That's not what it is. But
Oh, no.
I stayed in this room the entire time that was happening. I was going nowhere near the screen that was showing this.
Yeah.
And at one point, I overheard everyone in the play, including me, is like singing a song to the tune of "I've Been Working on the Railroad," and I just heard my younger voice singing it, and it just triggered me really deeply. And also, apparently, the play is quite racist, but like specifically towards Mexicans. And apparently, I say some stuff that I don't remember saying stuff at all. But I say like. I'll give the quote. You're shaking your head. No, I'll give the quote.
Don't do it. Oh no.
It's
Don't
like
give the quote.
oh,
this
because
is the worst thing white people do. Don't give the quote.
That's so true.
They're
That's
like,
so
no.
true.
I need to tell you. What
I need to tell you for context.
Hold on.
That's so true.
So he said inserts sentence that requires
the
N-word.
N-word. Yeah,
every
that's
time.
so true. Well, the only word I used was Mexican, but it was like talking about Mexican.
Well, that's fine. I was really concerned a different word was going to come out.
Well, now you got to say the word.
Like Guatemalan or something.
I don't think that's
a burn.
I don't think that's a racial slur. I think that's just a place.
It's not.
I think that's just where people are from. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the series finale of the Good Place podcast. I'll tell another story in a second. Let's start the podcast. One of my favorite things stand-up comedians do is that they do like 10 minutes of stand-up and then they're like, okay, let's get started, guys. As if they're like in control of like when the show has officially begun. I kind of respect that control of an audience. And I feel like I like doing that here.
Is it to make them seem more relatable and funny and make what they're about to say more believable? Is it all thought out and planned?
I mean, I think it is all thought out and planned. I think it makes people feel like the first 10 minutes of the show were just for them.
Just for them.
That's what I'm doing here. Why don't we get started, Steven? Let's talk about it. We're getting into the show because I do have a lot to say, but the first thing we should do is welcome everyone to the program, a very special, a monumental episode of Into the Time Knife, a Good Place rewatch. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach, and the water is still there.
And I'm Steven, and I love to watch you leave.
Let's start off the program, our last recap of The Good Place, by shouting out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can't-disappoint podcast. Those people are, of course, Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Vic D, Justin Fortier, and Lil S. Haker. Steven, any words for these people on our last Good Place pod?
You know, I just want to thank all of you for supporting and for being there. Some of you have been patrons for the last, 3 podcasts we've done. and that means a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you. Whether you still listen every week or you just catch us sometimes, who knows when in the future you'll be hearing this video. Hearing this video. You like that? I said hearing for once.
Sure. Still said video.
Yeah, well, there's a video. They don't need to watch. They can just listen.
Yeah, people have been supporting us. It means a lot, and I think it really puts the feather in our cap to keep this thing going, right? Obviously, we do this because we like it, and we like spending time with each other, but if there hadn't been people actually listening and commenting, and if there hadn't been people willing to sign up for a Patreon when we started one, I don't know if we would have ever finished Community, let alone Community and Cowboy Bebop and The Good Place now. And, well, if you're listening to this podcast, our next podcast has been decided. Steven and I, as we're recording, don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, we do
because
not know.
it's last Monday, and we don't know until Friday what the next podcast will be. I mean, it looks like it's going a certain direction at this time, but it's been back and forth enough that it could
there's
change.
still time for it to sway, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
I've been having a lot of fun following the vote. So if you're listening, if you voted for our next podcast, thanks for being a part of that. And I hope you're happy with the result. And I hope we are too, because we don't know it yet. But patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. That's the place to support us starting at $5 a month. You can keep us going in the gap between the end of the time knife and the start of whatever that next podcast is. You can support us there. You can get all sorts of Patreon exclusive content that will keep you fed and full until we return with our next podcast later this year.
Hey-o.
How's your week been, Steven? Anything you experienced and thought in the back of your head, this is one for the podcast?
You know, I do have those moments. I don't always remember them when we sit down to record. But I've been watching some good stuff. Anime is just bussin' right now. Konosuba is great.
Okay.
Let's see. Kaiju number 8, if you're looking for something new. That one's pretty good. What else have I been watching? Oh, do you like cooking shows, Zach?
I mean, I like them, but because watching stuff is like a special interest of mine, I don't often put things on just for background vibes. I usually am like, well, I have time to watch something, so I'm going to cross something off the list. Yeah. And that doesn't usually have food shows on it. Why?
There's 2 interesting ones that I like quite a bit. I've been watching with Danny. One of them.
I like how you gave me a space to talk and get it out before you started your spiel. Was that purposeful? Was that your all right? Let's get started
was wondering,
moment?
You know, in my training, Zach, we're taught to ask questions
and pretend to care. In Scientology, we're still on that.
Exactly.
You've taken a week of courses. They tell you to pretend to care what other people have to say, and then brainwash
you talk
them.
about the spaceship.
John Travolta, Grease.
Exactly. Oh. One of them, it's a cooking competition that takes place like over 24 hours, and the chefs have to like cook for 24 straight hours, like do a bunch of challenges. That one was pretty cool because they like start.
I feel
with
like most
24
things don't take 24 hours to cook.
They do 24 different cooking challenges throughout the thing. And
cool.
like sometimes
so
you
like
win like 30
Sutherland
minutes of like
situation.
napping. Yeah, and like sometimes you win like you get to go sit in like a lounge and relax.
You don't know. You've been watching it a lot. You're plugging it. No idea what it's called. That sounds interesting, actually.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. And the other one's called Tournament of Champions. Yeah. And it's where they basically have like all the people that win all those like cooking competition shows like battle each other in like a bracket style tournament. It's pretty cool.
Who hosts these shows? Anybody noteworthy?
Guy Fieri hosts Tournament of Champions. So
Pass. I'm out.
He's definitely the worst part of it.
Yeah.
Every episode he like walks up and like they'll be cooking something and he like will taste the sauce and he'll go, Yep, bury me in that. Danny pointed out to me that he and JoJo Siwa have very similar energy, and I think that's very accurate, especially for JoJo right now.
Well, they both invented a new category of gay music.
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed.
Do you know that JoJo Siwa was saying that she like invented queer
gay pop? I know everything
like
about JoJo Siwa, Zachary.
That's true. Everything I learned about the new JoJo Siwa like as it happened because I was with Steven and Steven was up to it. Are you doing the dance? It looks like you're jacking off someone behind you.
Yeah, that's the dance.
I want to ask you how you think I should tread a personal situation, okay?
Okay, yeah, let me know, buddy. I'm happy. I'm here to help.
Do you have anything you want to mention before I take over? This is me giving you space.
Oh, and to finish answering your question, the other show, 24 Hour one's hosted by Esther Cho.
That makes me want to
No.
say something else before I say what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Quibi cooking show that was hosted by Titus Burgess?
No, but I love Titus.
In which a chef is in a room and through a cannon they explode a dish onto them, and then they get like 30 seconds to go around the room and like taste some of the detritus from the cannon food explosion, and they then have to go to another room and like collect ingredients, and they have to try to make what they think that dish that was exploded on them was, and like two people do it and you see what they end up with. Dishmantled.
Wow.
Kind of fun. It was like my favorite.
What fucking drugs was whoever pitched that on, though? They're like, okay, so we're gonna fucking put him in a room and we're gonna shoot a food at him, and they gotta figure out what the fuck just got shot at me. This is
Do any of these cooking
up.
shows ever just like explode out of the wall with a giant food cum shot or anything? It was kind of fun. That and the Reno 911 reboot were the only things I liked about Quibi.
Nice.
Personal life thing. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Someone
give
just
me your,
moved.
give me your rap.
The apartment below my feet has been empty for like a year.
Yeah.
Someone just moved in.
Things with Lil, but would it be awkward to be there?
If I just move in, right? It would just be an easy move.
Yeah.
Someone just moved in, and I haven't seen them yet, but apparently it's two like fratty college boys. And the first night, the night that they moved in, they were like bumping music, and this is a pretty quiet building.
Yeah.
They were bumping music until like 3 a.m. And then apparently today, as we're recording, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Apparently they're bumping music right now. I can't hear it, but maybe it'll show up. There are things I like about this because I feel like, well, if there's a common enemy in the room, or at least a common annoyance, certain things that I do that are annoying won't be as noticeable, and maybe we can play our music and TV a little bit louder and not worry so much or at all because people are bumping music until 3 a.m. How do you think I should treat my new neighbors? How do you think I should interact with the young folk that moved in downstairs?
My building has pretty thin walls, and my upstairs neighbor plays music a lot, sometimes super late at night. But that gives me freedom to do whatever the fuck I want because there's, I also am one that doesn't go to sleep early now. I think you're a much more sensitive sleeper than I am, Zach. So has the music kept you up?
No, and we were just talking about this before the show. We really like, before we record the podcast and on the podcast, we just get to know like every little thing about each other.
Yeah.
Like truly like every little tiny thing. You probably know me to the detail, potentially no, not better than anyone, but close. Like you're second to Lil, and you know things that maybe Lil doesn't know. Definitely have seen some things Lil hasn't seen. No, it hasn't kept me up. I throw on, because we talked about my 21st birthday party going to Chicago and staying in like a cheap hostel, and how electrostaticy the sheets were, and how I played Ben Folds on shuffle on my phone all night because it would help me sleep. I'm not that sensitive anymore. I take my pills. I'm medicated. I put on white noise. Put on white noise like a normal human being, and then I fall asleep. Because if there's noises,
I'm more of a green noise guy myself. A little softer.
If there are noises for me to fixate on, they'll keep me up. Which is why I don't know how I ever slept with the TV and music and stuff on. If there's something for me to fixate on, I won't fall asleep. But if there's concurrent noise that you can't focus on that covers up to, for the most part, other things, I'm fine. So I've been fine so far. Thanks for asking. If I see these guys, I'm not on the TikToks. I'm a little bit late on the terms. Should I like yell skibbity toilet, gentlemen, as they walk out of the...
Can I hear your best ski yeet? Can I hear that one from you?
No, I think I'm good.
Give me a ski
yeet. Ski yeet.
That was good. That was really good.
That felt like Jeff Winger saying "sup." That's what that felt like to me. But I appreciate whenever I try to do something culturally and my black friend literally applauds me. It makes me feel amazing.
It should. It's a hard game.
Do you feel the need to encourage white people? Do we feel more down on our luck than a lot of people you come in contact with?
It's like giving a dog an extra treat just cuz, because
and it's very big of your people because we don't deserve it. No. We may need the extra pat on the back a lot of the time, but we shouldn't get it at all. So thank you for putting yourself aside to clap a hand on the back of a white guy every once in a while.
Gotta, can't kick you while you're down.
Should we do it? Should we get into the last 25 minutes of The Good Place? Are you ready?
We've held it off enough, Zach. It's time.
That was fun. Yeah. I'm very excited, guys. We're here. We're talking about the end of The Good Place. What an emotional whirlwind the last couple days have been for me watching this episode, digging deep into it. We talked last week about not really being ready to let go of the time knife yet, and how now that it's ending, it feels very bittersweet. How are you feeling on that front now that you've completed watching The Good Place? Do you feel like you've completed a thing?
Yeah, we still are going to talk about it, but I just feel...
No, I thought maybe we could just be done.
Yeah, just call it. I'm ready. I'm ready now. Walks through door. That'd be such a fun way to just end the podcast. How we just walk through the door.
Go from the 2.5 hour recap of part 1 to a 15-minute and ignorance of part 2. That'd be funny.
I just feel complete. But yeah, it feels like we've kind of come full circle.
Quiet solitude.
And I love the ending of this show. And I think, not to bury the lead, but they truly encapsulate a feeling of calm and peace and contentment with how things are. And I'm really happy with what we've done here and what we've accomplished.
Yeah, me too.
And it's been fun. It's felt good.
Yeah, and I'm also bittersweet because we're taking a little break after this. We've not advertised it to the full extent. We are doing the podcast that was voted on by the audience, but we don't know when that's going to be. Next week, friends, our roundtable and end of series roundtable for The Good Place is going to be our last main feed podcast for an indeterminate period of time. We're going to start the new show this year, but it might not be this summer. We don't know when it's going to be. So I think that adds to the bittersweet a little bit. Like I've mentioned, ready for a break, but I love this space that we take up together, and it always lightens my mood, and it's a great way to start the week on a Monday.
We may not be putting anything on the main feed every week, but there will still be episodes, season 2 of The Basement coming soon. Now's as great a time as any, I think, as
to sign up for the Patreon.
The time knife is going to be a little bit fewer and further between. It's a good time to sign up for the Patreon. Check out some of what we've got over there.
There will be new content on the Patreon while we're gone. Thanks for turning this into a commercial. I really appreciate that. And there's so much. There's 136 episodes or 5 episodes of the pre-show. There's the unedited Brokeback Bebop episodes. Yeah. And there's like almost 30 episodes of The Basement to catch up on before season 2 starts in July. That's a very good point. But we're here today to talk about... Last week I called part 1 season 4 episode 12. Incorrect. It was season 4 episode
13.
13.
You.
And I am going to say that today we're talking about season 4 episode 14. I am going to call it chapter 53. Wow. Whenever you're ready, part 2.
Wow, is that a gift to me?
Why was that a gift to you? I feel like I did what I usually do.
Oh, did I flip it in my mind?
You usually want to call the 2-parter one episode, and I'm still calling it a second episode. Yeah. This episode was directed by the series creator Michael Schur, who previously directed Michael's Gambit, Somewhere Else, Pandemonium, and part 1 of Whenever You're Ready. As a director, outside of The Good Place, he directed 8 episodes of a show he created called Parks and Recreation, 2 episodes of another show he created called Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and 1 episode of the show Single Parents.
My fave!
I'm not really into that show. You do like Single Parents, though. You do have a history with them. It was created by the girl who created New Girl, and it had Brad Garrett and Taran Killam.
That sounds like a CBS comedy that would last half a season.
I think it was ABC, and I think it lasted 2 seasons.
It's not the market for that show, but sure.
This episode was written by the series creator, wrapping it all up, Michael Schur. He previously wrote the series premiere, Everything is Fine, Michael's Gambit, Somewhere Else, Everything is Bonzer, Part 1 with Jen Statsky, and the first part of the finale, Whenever You're Ready. As a writer outside of The Good Place, he was a writer for 128 episodes of Saturday Night Live, 2 episodes of the Lisa Kudrow HBO show The Comeback, which is really, really funny. It just lasted 1 season in the early 2000s, right after Friends, and then it came back for a second season like 15 years later, or 20 years later, and they're both really good. He wrote 10 episodes of The Office, He was the creator of Parks and Recreation. He wrote one episode of Black Mirror. He is the creator, more recently, of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and also the creator of a show starring Ed Helms called Rutherford Falls. I think that might be Peacock.
I was going to say, that sounds somewhat familiar.
Sure. The series finale of The Good Place, both parts originally aired on January 30th, 2020, and the number one movie that day was Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah.
And the number one album was Rare by Selena Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
Since we don't get to do that fun segment that we usually do, before we get into... No, we're going to... Never mind. We're going to do... I have a thing. I'm going to do a thing. I came up with a thing
Zach
we're going to do.
has been pitching this thing for 2 hours.
10
and
minutes.
I have no idea what it is.
It's not... maybe I'm overselling it. We're going to... No, I'm not. You know what? I'm not. I'm not overselling it. But before we do that, I do think we need to, as a nation, for the final time, gather together, hold hand in hand, and find out, did Steven watch the episode this week? Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Did Steven watch the episode this week?
Were you trying to get me to say that?
You'll never
Because it
know.
worked really well. You
You'll
weren't.
never
You didn't
know.
have anything. You just turned off. You shut down.
You'll never
Is that what
know.
happened?
My comedic
You've got-
genius knows no bounds.
20 seconds on the clock to describe everything that happens in part 2 of the Good Place finale.
There's so much in this episode.
You did pretty well with part 1. I think part 2 is even a little harder.
Yes, I think it's much harder, Zach. I don't think I have any chance of getting even a fifth of what the fuck happened in this 27 minutes.
Well, also think this is the last time you'll be doing this for quite some time. It's the last time you'll do it for the Good Place. So don't sell yourself out. Don't sell yourself short. Just have fun. We're doing it one more time. Let's see what happens. You can do it.
In the words of Spike Spiegel by way of Bruce Lee, I will be water.
Okay, on go. Are you ready?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
3,
I'm ready.
2, 1, go.
Now in Paris, Eleanor tries to point out the great things about life to Chidi. Chidi realizes what's going on and tells her he's ready to go, but then Eleanor convinces him to stay because she loves him. So he agrees to stay, but then Eleanor quickly realizes it's not right. It's time for him to go. Chidi goes through the door. Jason's been waiting to give Janet the gift. He gets a nice goodbye before he goes through the door. Then Eleanor tries to find her purpose, tries to help Mindy. Then she tries to help Michael.
Stop.
Michael's a human.
Ooh, you were doing well. And I think, even though you don't want to, you should have spent a little bit less time on Eleanor and Chidi to get to the second half. You barely got she tries to help Mindy. And I'm kind of iffy on if I'm going to give you she tries to help Michael. You didn't get he becomes a human. That's not going on the record. Man, but it's hard. Again, you did
It's
pretty
hard.
well
There's
for
so
how
much
hard it
stuff.
is. I think last week I gave you like a B+, and you thought you deserved a little better.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in B+ territory.
I think that's
And
fair
since it's
score
the
this
last
week.
episode, I'm going to edge you up to an A- because
edge me up.
you did even better than I thought you were going to do if you did well. You touched on most things. There's just so much more you could have touched.
Yeah. Those
A-.
seconds that you gave me, Zach, helped a lot. I was freaking out, but I was able to calm down. I was
for
going to
you.
freak out. Also,
Well,
can I
before-
show off my shirt?
Sure.
Yeah, I got this on
You may.
freaking
Floor is yours. Oh, I hadn't seen the bottom of it. That's cool.
yeah, I got this random ass Instagram ad. I got this in another shirt. And
I
the other one's
believe
a little
it.
small. This one's pretty cool.
Neat.
Yeah,
Well,
one piece.
since we didn't get to do one of my segments this week, what we're going to do is take a look over on our Patreon because we've gotten all sorts of correspondence about mostly part 1 of the finale from our new friend Vic D. So
Oh,
I thought I was
wow.
going to give Vic her very own corner of the podcast this week. To talk
Hey.
about, because we learned on the pre-show how much of a Good Place expert she
Yeah,
is. She's got some
absolutely.
trivia, and she also has some corrections for us from last week's episode about part 1.
Okay, I want to get ahead of one. That was not Eleanor's mom at
Yeah.
fucking all. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't make sense because Eleanor talks about her fucking mom.
Yep.
So I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I
And I
was
like
highly
described it
medicated
that
at
way,
the
and I
time.
said I think it's 2 of her friends, and you said no, it's
It's her mom, you Fruit Loop dingus.
And I think I also knew that wasn't right, but I try to yes and as much as I can. You know what I mean? I just
That's
gave
growth,
you that one.
Zach. You know, one of the things I think socially is one of the biggest skills to possess to like help in social situations is being able to let people be wrong.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you showing that moment. So good for you.
I
Good for
guess,
you, pal.
and especially when we do such a long podcast and I do so many actuallys, I have to like choose my battles, and I let that one slide.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do some trivia. I'm just going to ask you these questions to see how you do. These are from Vic D.
Ooh, okay.
From part 1 of the finale. This is part 1. What is the beverage advertised in Jason's Stupid Nicks? I did not catch wind of this. I imagine there's a poster?
Nick Cola.
No, think about something you
real?
would get as a school. It's close to something real. Something you would get at school as a beverage that's not quite orange juice.
Yeah.
It's orange drink. Orange drink. But in the poster...
Like Jennifer Lopez's
at Stupid
favorite?
Nick's Wing Dump, it says orange drank.
Orange
They
drank.
sell orange drank. Have you heard about the hip-hop cookie place that everyone's clowning on in Indianapolis?
No.
It went viral because it's like run by a white lady in her 40s.
Nice.
And it's supposed to be like, this is for the 90s kids, and it's called the Cookie Plug. And a lot of the names, and they sell a purple drink. And a lot of the cookie names are like weed influenced and stuff.
That's so funny.
There was a video of the news like interviewing her, and she's like putting on a black scent, and she's like, it's so cringy. Yeah. That's what I think Stupid Nick is doing by advertising an orange drink. It's very Cookie Plug. Everybody, like Steven included, everybody, look up Cookie Plug Indianapolis on YouTube and watch the clip. It's like some cringe comedy. It feels like, and I think you should leave.
I love when stuff from either our hometown or near our hometown goes viral. There's something like, wow, I'm glad that's as bad as I thought it was.
It is. It truly is. That was the only real question, but here's some trivia that Vic pointed out. Tahani showing her parents Home Alone is a hat tip to Jason showing it to her earlier in the series.
Aww.
Also, Nick Offerman couldn't get the chair that he wanted for the scene with Tahani's perfect chair, and said his woodworking friends were going to make fun of him for approving of the chair that they used in the shot.
That's so
which
funny.
Is funny. Here's some more. Check the kinds of sauce you can get at Stupid Nick's. I think I said Dick's. Stupid Nick's.
Hey,
some winners are World's Biggest Idiot, Fire Squirts, Gator Piss, Chocolate Starfish, which I think is a Limp Bizkit reference.
Nice.
Lard, Diet Lard, and A Holy.
Oh my God.
That's very funny.
That's so
I did not notice that at all. These episodes are so packed. Also, we've got Glenn's coworker Beatty is from The Good Place. We know this because she was in the video with Trevor explaining to Mindy why she was in a medium place in season 1. And that makes sense. I remember that face being in that episode.
Well, it
Great
makes sense
stuff.
because they're supposed to be paired a good place and a bad place architect as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
and
was
it's just
another
something
person
that
I noticed in part
Don't
1
mention it.
whose name was like Drew or something that was a part of the like the coalition thing when they go to meet the judge, and I didn't recognize him, so I couldn't tell where he was from.
And then Vic's corrections from our part 1 podcast, and then we'll get into our trivia. Number 1, the judge called the doorman Jeff in the Brainy Bunch, so it wasn't the first time we hear Jeff's name. Number 2, this is just me misspeaking. I know that this is what was right, and I think the way we described it, I think I just said this wrong. I don't think Jason was trying to beat his dad at Madden just to play the perfect game. I knew that. I think
you misspoke.
I think
that was
I
one where I
just
let
misspoke.
you ride with that one.
Yeah. And then number 3, the tie that Michael gave to Hani is his tie from season 1. She thinks episode 1, the peacock tie. I didn't pick that up.
I knew that.
Okay. And then number 4, as you said, Eleanor's mom wasn't at the dinner. Those were all Eleanor's friends. Number 5, the Grease scenes were filmed in Greece, which is excellent, and I think that really shows. They totally did just get an empty section of Greece. Yeah. And then number 6, thanks for a fun ep. So many feels coming up. So true. Aww. We're going to get into the feels. I thought Vic deserved her own corner because
thanks for writing, Vic. Write in. If you're a patron, write the hell in.
To be well, this is the last episode.
Write the hell in.
I guess we're here next week. Yeah, thanks for writing in. She proves that she's an indisposable, good place voice. Thank you for your thoughts. Let's get into our trivia. I've got 9 questions for you.
I've got a handful for you. Why don't I kick it off?
Okay.
What is the ideal Parisian weather?
I think that's my first question. Overcast and chili?
Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't sure on chili. That is right. What color is Janet's cotton candy?
This is one of my questions. It's like a very light, like baby blue.
Yeah, I would have just blue would have been fine, but you're right. And it's light baby blue.
Why is overcast and chilly the perfect weather?
Ooh, because it's the perfect weather to stay inside and read books all day? Is that close?
Mm-hmm.
What rules and regulations, guys, are on Eleanor's mind when asking Chidi for advice? She mentions two names. Yes?
And it's not Kleckengard, is it?
Huh? I think you're thinking of Kierkegaard, and you said Cuckingard.
I said Kleckengard.
No.
It's not Kierkegaard.
First name, last name. The first name is one of the Gospels of the Bible. John Locke. We were looking for John Locke. What did you say?
Paul's Schism.
Paul's Gism? Paul's Gism?
Paul Schism.
Do you know what the Gospels of the Bible are? There's no book of
Matthew,
Paul.
Mark, Luke, and John. I don't know. Thought maybe Paul.
Who's the Bible
Simon
boy
Paul
now? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul, George, Ringo. I think it's your turn.
Harry, Zane. What cafe do Eleanor and Chidi sit at?
I don't know. I knew you were going to ask a question about that or where the hotel that they're going to get a room is. I don't know these answers. I don't know them.
Les deux. I don't know if it's Magot or Majo, but Les deux.
You would think for somebody who lived there.
Didn't live in fucking Paris. I don't know the name of every fucking cafe. Because sometimes G is je, sometimes it's G, and I don't have the goddamn know-how to distinguish which in this situation. Due to English having no real fucking rules.
Good place podcaster and not a French teacher.
Yeah. English sucks as a language. It's ruined our ability to learn other things.
Yeah. What did Jason want to protect Janet's necklace from?
Magical squirrels?
Yes. The magic squirrel might eat it.
Ooh, sorry. This might be a good one, might not.
Okay.
Who wrote What We Owe to Each Other?
Oh. It's not John Locke. Or is it? I don't know. I should. Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein.
They say the last name, but they show the book.
I don't think I know. I remember the quote, but I don't remember the name.
We're looking for T.M. Scanlon.
Oh, T.I. I didn't know that was one of his.
T.I. Tip T.I. Harris.
What podcast is the judge listening to next?
Ooh,
And what was it about, if you remember?
It's about the clams thing. Is it an audio blast about...
You're really close. Neither of those words are right, but you're on the right track.
Yeah. Sound burst.
Before podcasts, you would listen to the... What? That's...
Radio blast. Radio...
Not blast.
Radio boom.
And if you're taking a science class, you're going to have to step into the...
Radio lab.
Yeah, you got it. And it was about...
Clams trust team tart.
You're not fucking trying, Steven. Apply yourself. A radio lab about how clams learn.
Birth. Turn?
Learn. I said it already.
Churn butter.
Yeah, how they churn. How clams churn butter. Your turn.
What is on Eleanor's shirt during her goodbye to Chidi?
Oh man, flowers?
Mm-mm.
Farm animals.
Further away.
The main cast of Desperate Housewives.
That's it. What is it. Little pink and yellow stars.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Where does Mindy tell Derek to go?
Back to his black hole? What the fuck was he in?
Go back to your nether sphere.
Nether sphere. It's fun. How long is the Chidi calendar for?
One entire Baramy. A full Baramy.
Yeah, full Baramy.
What does Michael suggest he'll have Janet make for him? This is towards the end of the episode. It's kind of a vague question. I didn't know a better way to word this. What does Michael suggest he'll have Janet make for him? This is before the human stuff, when he's thinking about what he's going to do here to pass the time. He's going to have Janet make him a blank so he can blank a blank.
Around aimlessly.
He's going to have Janet make a...
retirement center?
Where would those people maybe go to shop?
A Goodwill?
No.
Elder Bierman?
A hardware Elder Bierman. Excellent.
Good pull.
Of course, this episode is brought to you by Elder Bierman. If you can find a fucking Elder Bierman, walk in, yell Zach and Steve, and they'll give you 20% off. It's a hardware store, so he can buy a hex wrench for no reason.
Wow, don't remember that line at all.
Okay. I've got 2 more questions. You still got some?
I got a handful more.
Okay.
What does the box held by mailman Cheaty say?
Ooh, U.S. mail?
Ooh, we were looking for this side up.
Ooh, that yeah, it is. What are the top 3 moments of Janet's not life? We're getting into my last questions, my real thematic ones, some big ones.
Eleanor suggesting that they save all the humans on Earth.
I'll give that to you, sure.
When they got into the real good place.
Mm-hmm.
And an 8 million way tie, 8 million 800 million way tie. 8 million way tie for every time that she and Jason kissed.
Yes,
he's a really good kisser.
Good job. Very cute.
That's such
I
a
bet
cute
he
line.
was.
Okay, I was so excited for this. What show does the judge's t-shirt reference?
I don't even know what it said.
It was a number 5, and it said the East Dillon Lions.
Oh, so that's Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Chandler. But I haven't seen Friday Night Lights, so I didn't know to look at that as something. But
yeah.
I
Well,
pulled that out of
and
my
when it
ether.
got, and it's funny because East Dillon does not come into play until like season 4.
So she's
'Cause that's when
a
Michael
true
B.
fan.
Jordan comes onto the show, I believe. Actually, I know that's when he comes in. I believe it's season 3 or 4.
Is that the type of show where there's like a dad who can't walk, and then the son does a really good job at football, and he stands up for the first time in 20 years to cheer
No,
for
but
him?
there's a
Is that
really
that
old
type of
crazy
show?
grandma who like freaks out and screams sometimes.
Connie Britton?
One and the same. There's a wheelchair guy. His best friend bones
That's-
his girl.
You're thinking of Glee. Different.
No, there's
different
Friday Night
football
Lights. There's
show.
a wheelchair guy too.
Different football show. Classic football show, Glee.
Yeah, different wheelchair.
I've got
guy.
one last question for you. This is my final trivia question from The Good Place for
Wow.
Stephen Baker. What is Michael's mail?
It's his loyalty card for Michael Reelman to the hardware store or whatever the Costco type place. It's a store.
Yes.
It's like a shopping place, like a hardware, like Menards
Otherwise known
type
as a
deal.
store. Coyote Joe's Marketplace is what I was
Yeah.
looking for. No,
Sure.
I'm not I was looking for the place.
Ah,
Any Tom, Dick, or Harry could have said it was a savings card.
sure. I got 3
Biffed
more
the
for
last
you,
question.
Zach.
Okay, cool. Let's see how
what
I can do.
magazine is Mindy reading?
I'm pulling this out of my. Is it like the baby plastic surgery disaster magazine?
It's People.
That would have been funny.
So,
That would have been
Maybe.
about the same.
yeah. How many times has Derek been rebooted?
Ooh, 171 million times. Is that right?
I'm going to say no. That's not right.
What did you have? What did you write?
More than 151 million.
151. Okay.
What scam does Janet warn Michael about?
Insurance. Paying for the extra insurance when you get a rental car.
Yeah.
I
you
can
got it.
speak from experience. It's not a scam. You can get wrecked in those cars, and your insurance will not always cover it the way that you think it should. I get why people don't want to spend an extra $50 a day.
Yeah,
on
but if
your
you're
rental
someone
car.
who's going to crash your car, get the fucking insurance.
Yep. Well, that's trivia for The Good Place. Steven, all that's left to do is talk about and dive into the final half of the series finale of The Good Place. What was your experience watching this episode this time?
You know, it was really special because we watched just the first half last week, and I wanted to watch the finale with Danny because we had watched it together for the first time. So it was really nice getting to watch it with her, and I definitely got just as emotional watching the first half as I did last week. And that just carried into especially the first half of the second half of the episode. I think has a lot of emotional moments for me, and it was really nice getting to share that with her, and then getting to watch it again to take notes. There's so many things that are funny in this.
It is pretty
episode.
funny.
It's really funny, and they managed to combine the kind of laughing through your tears moments that are some of my favorite when watching.
They pick some really
the show.
good laugh moments when you really need it.
Yeah, so good. How about you, Zach?
I love it. I think it's a great ending for the show. Like we touched on last week, the series finale of a show always feels like a different type of episode than any other episode of the show. So I don't know if it's fair to say like how high on the list this goes, or even how high on the list of series finales it goes. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's very, very, very good. I don't have anything bad to say, but it's near perfect ending for The Good Place. And at the end of it, I just feel that whole complete feeling. I don't feel so much a need to like pick holes into it or to rank it against other things. I feel like this ends exactly the way it needed to end. And I feel like they might have had some of these ending moments in mind since near the beginning.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to talk about it, to go full circle with the story like this episode does. I think everything works in this episode. Even as its own episode, part 2 still manages to give us another Tahani moment and manages to give us another Jason moment. We get last moments with all of the characters that we love so much. We cry. We see how far they've come. What a fucking heartbreaker Darcy Carden is in this episode. Almost even more than in the episode where Jason leaves, even if her like second goodbye with Jason isn't as heavy. There's a moment in the end of the episode where she's saying goodbye to Michael.
Yeah,
and
that's
she
like one
just
of the best.
Squeaks out in okay to him. And the way that Janet, her voice breaks, but she doesn't cry because she's Janet. It's so good. It's heartbreaking. Brilliant. You just see time and time again how important all of these relationships have become over the course of this show. And I don't know. I just think it's great. I don't know what to do other than dive in. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it.
We start right into part 2 exactly as part 1 ended. Chidi, Eleanor, and Janet are walking through a green door to destination number 2 of their trip. This is the improvised one. Eleanor did not make a plan, and Janet just has to come up with something, what she thinks Eleanor would pick, and she picks well. It's Paris, obviously, Chidi's favorite city, with the ideal weather, overcast and chilly, perfect for staying inside and reading. Did you visit Paris?
Yeah, I've been to Paris a couple times. I really like Paris. It's really big.
I'd like to visit Paris.
So there's like 100 things I didn't get to do, but Paris is pretty good. I've heard people like say not great things about Paris, but I think they were just in the bad parts of it. Every city has places that aren't as nice in it, but I think Paris is pretty fucking awesome.
I feel like I kind of relate to Chidi in some way, where if I'm going to go to a place like Paris, obviously I want to see all of the tourist things, but I almost want to be able to stay there or anywhere for a long enough period of time that I can like live there a couple days and just do my routine and find a cafe or read a book on the patio all day. I want to be able to go see the Eiffel Tower, but then also have a day without any plans. I really like that.
I want to take Danny at some point to... We were actually looking at maybe going to Switzerland at some point.
Oh, cool.
Because I lived like 20 minutes from Geneva, Switzerland, in France. So that would give us a chance to kind of hit a couple of places, maybe even like take a quick little hop over to Paris, you know, go on the Eiffel Tower, throw some balloons at some kids,
some
you know, all
baguettes.
that fun stuff. Yeah. Get
Throw
a nice...
some balloons.
Yeah.
Is that
Did you watch the fucking episode?
Water balloons. Oh, yeah. What she says they could do. They could stand on top and throw. Did I watch the episode? Come on. Of course I did. Who are you talking to? It's Chidi's favorite city. Eleanor's idea was that they could go to Six Flags, but this is a way better idea. Six Flags is fun, too.
Yeah, Six Flags is very fun.
Chidi and Eleanor have mimosas together. I thought their cafe meal looked amazing. It was these croissants and like a fruit dish that looked amazing and some mimosas. I would love a Parisian brunch like
yummy
that.
Time.
Yeah.
Food bussin'.
Not quite the Today Show cafe at Universal Studios Florida, but it would do.
We all know how much Zach loves the Today Show cafe, Universal Studios Florida.
We all know.
Zach's favorite place on earth, the Today Show Cafe. He just has to go. He just can't let a morning pass him by without stopping by the Today Show Cafe.
Chidi mentions that this cafe was a favorite of his. He liked to try to sit in every outdoor seat one at a time so he could be certain that he sat in one of the seats as important French tastemakers from throughout history. I thought that was very sweet. I like that a lot. Is that a thing
for you? Like if you go to like a historic theater that you know that somebody was at, would you want to watch a movie from the seat that Scorsese sits in?
I say, give me the Lincoln box or I'm out. I don't know. I think places have a lot of importance. I don't know if I think the seat has so much importance, but I think I would feel cool being in a theater and knowing, someone like an old classic artist that's not problematic once performed here. I couldn't think of one, so I didn't have a name to throw out. I don't know. I think places do hold I get why Chidi would do this. I think it's kind of sweet. If I lived in a place like New York or California, I would probably be doing the same
Today
thing.
Show Cafe, New York, they gotta have one, right?
We got all the time in the world now, baby. Put that booty in a seat warmed by history.
Eleanor, I know what you're doing.
Being the best eternal girlfriend ever, guilty.
Let's take a walk.
I love, this goes right from part one, the way that this episode is paced and the way that it goes from beat to beat without wasting any time. That of course Chidi knows what Eleanor's doing and just calls her out on it. Just says, look, I know what you're doing. There's no need to move this on any further. When they could have. This could have been a way longer plot line. And yet it feels natural. Of course Chidi knows Eleanor to that point. And as soon as he says that, Jesus Christ, the waterworks really throughout this whole segment. Man.
When he hits her with the let's take a walk, it was over for me.
Yeah, and you see it in Eleanor's face that she's trying to keep the party going, and this is the moment when, fuck, okay, so he's actually going to say some stuff, and now I have to be that person and have that conversation. The shot of them from afar standing on the bridge together as they begin to speak is really nice. William Jackson Harper is incredible in this episode. The way he delivers all of his lines, I feel like this is an actor's dream, the journey that Chidi has in this episode. The way that he knows who he's talking to, and he knows Chidi, even though this is decisive Chidi, he's been mulling this over for a very long time. So he opens with, Eleanor, I love you completely and utterly. Oh crap, but I have to go. And Kristen Bell, equally excellent in this episode. But you don't, though. You don't have to go. You don't have to leave me. We were talking about this last week, that of course, it doesn't matter how complete Chidi's journey is or how certain he is of his next decision. There's no way he can make that choice without Eleanor feeling a little dejected.
Yeah.
How do you feel on the Eleanor good to bad ratio on this episode? Because last week she was a little stinker. When this week you're with her.
I think she redeems. It balances out on the side of good. Now, everyone's pretty good this week, but Eleanor kind of... I absolutely would do the same thing if I were Eleanor.
Yeah. In about the exact same pace that it happens in this episode, too.
Absolutely. You know, I think I would exactly be there where I'm like, you can't leave me. Like, I'm not ready to go yet, and we're together. Like, this is my afterlife. I get to spend eternity with you, but that's leaving. So I don't think I would be able to be like Janet and be like, yeah, it's your time. I'm sad, but it's your time to go.
I was going to compare the two. Janet always feels that those people are with her. Eleanor will feel, because
Janet's the most advanced being in the universe.
She'll feel so alone in the universe without Chidi, or at least she could.
Yeah.
I do like that this episode tells us that, yes, like Chidi was the answer, Eleanor was the answer, but love and relationship isn't the journey. Personal discovery and finding fulfillment in yourself, either with or without a partner, is the journey. And I like that this episode gives us that, even if the emotional weight a lot comes out of this quote unquote breakup, dissolution of a relationship as Chidi leaves. Yeah. I love that Eleanor's journey does not end with Chidi leaving.
No. And it doesn't go on forever without Chidi, but the thing that gave her the clarity was not, okay, Chidi's gone, so I'm ready to go. You know,
well, because it would be like, oh man, if you're going, I guess I'm just gonna go too. I don't want to. No, she needed to figure her shit out, and she does, and I like that.
And
a
I
lot.
think that I really love just so many moments throughout this episode. But
yeah, let's keep digging into the scene, because as I look forward in my notes, there are so many little stabs in the heart all throughout this. Chidi explains that he doesn't want to leave Eleanor, but he's ready to leave, and he explains having the same feeling that the other people described. A kind of quietude in my soul is the way he describes it. And it's words of wisdom that can only come from someone who has experienced that feeling. You don't throw around quietude in my soul if you're not feeling peaceful and tranquil as fuck. And Eleanor's still scrambling. She worries, or at least puts it out as worrying about Chidi, that maybe he'd be making a mistake, that he'd be making the decision too fast. Maybe even some of those other people would regret the decision if they could regret the decision afterwards. But Chidi shuts that down, that he's not making a rash decision here. He's been feeling this exact way for a very long time. And he tells her the moment that he knew. And this was a cry moment for me.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that day we were with our parents? My mom kissed you goodbye and got lipstick on your cheek, and your mom rubbed it off. I don't know why that was it, but that was it.
This is such a beautiful picture. I don't even know how to put words to it. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy to think of Chidi watching his mom kissing Eleanor on the cheek and feeling like, oh man, my mom like loves my partner and she's part of the family. And then watching Eleanor's mom wiping the lipstick off and being like, no, we're all a family. And Eleanor and how far her mom have come and how far I and Eleanor have come. And does it get any better than this? I don't know if it does.
And I think that's kind of the moment that everyone has, is they're like, it can't get any better than this, so I'm done. That's and I think
I don't know why that was it, but
incredible.
That was it. And when that glass shatters, when the weight becomes too much and the glass shatters, I don't know why that was the moment that it shattered, but it did.
And I think, I'll talk about this more at the end of the episode, but I think this kicks off, and this kind of secured for me the theme of what I think the theme of the finale is, which is find beauty in the everyday things, find the fantastic in the mundane. And I think that that's kind of a really strong message that it pushes in this episode, especially part 2, but in part 1 as well. And I think that's something really powerful and special.
I like so many great deliveries from William Jackson Harper. I like how he explains that was the moment I didn't want to tell you because is how he says it. He says because twice in gestures. It's like, I didn't know how to tell you because, and then he knows he doesn't have to explain it because Eleanor knows, because it's big. Eleanor can accept this. Her plea, how she reverts into a little kid that's like lost at the store and doesn't know how her mom's ever going to find her again. The way that she yelps and pleads for Chidi. I was alone my whole life, and I told myself I like it that way, but I don't. I like being with you. I'm not ready to be alone again. I can't handle it. And how the air is sucked out of the room even more than Chidi saying he's going to leave when he says, okay, I won't go.
That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal.
It is brutal. And it's another thing in this episode.
Earnestly.
Well, of course you'll stay for your person if they can't handle it. But of course that's selfish of Eleanor to want that out of someone who's so ready to go. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. It's a tragedy. It's a captivating love story. I feel like in that moment, I feel like we're all Chidi and also we're all Eleanor. And it's a true... there's no, what is Eleanor doing here? I can put myself in those shoes of being like, I'm going to be alone forever without my person. Please don't stay for me. And so he says he will. There's still plenty to do, he says. I'll stay. And he makes peace with that. Then you talk about this episode picking the right moments to have a laugh. That's when Janet pops in with the cotton candy, ready for Six Flags next. But Eleanor lets Janet know that Chidi's staying, and there's no hesitation. Janet just smiles.
And I kind of, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I feel like Janet's face kind of says,
okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. She definitely was before this, And it says a lot that every time Janet pops in with a question that involves both of them, Eleanor is the one answering for both of them.
Absolutely.
But Chidi and Eleanor continue to spend time together. They stroll arm in arm, and she's asking what they should do next. The hypothetical was to drop water balloons off of the Eiffel Tower. What was the other one? Do you remember?
To go watch Housewives in this place,
the hotel, and get a really fancy hotel, to get a really fancy meal, a really fancy drink that's way more expensive, and then to just watch trash TV. And Chidi just, whatever you want to do, but not in a bitter way.
No, just in a, I'm content, so I'm here to help fulfill your existence right now.
And at this point, Eleanor, she says, yeah, okay, then we'll freshen up, we'll have dinner and wine, and then we'll watch TV in the hotel. And Chidi says, fine, okay, love it. They're going to do that. But first he wants to take a moment of quiet solitude to himself. This was really effective for me in a way that I can't quite put words to. Chidi wants to find his old place one more time by himself and just see it. See where he used to live. He'll meet her at the restaurant. Eleanor says okay, but her face says a lot. You can see the wheels turning in her head. And he kisses her on the forehead and walks off, leaving her alone. And then there's just probably the most quiet moment of the entire episode as Chidi finds some solace, finds his old place, and you try to read all of his different thoughts and emotions off of his face. It's a complex moment that really spoke to me.
What I kind of took from this was Chidi almost, he's at peace, but he knows that Eleanor's not ready to go. And it's almost as if he's like, well, maybe if I go see this, it'll inspire something in me that's like, oh, I want to recapture this moment, or looking for something. And when he gets there, he just is, he's content with everything. He's at peace. He's like, yes, I see this. Yes, this was important, but no, it doesn't make me want to stay anymore.
He's starting to become sadly content. Yeah. So then he meets Eleanor at dinner, takes a look at the menu. It's cute. What's on the menu here? Oh, literally anything you could possibly imagine. What are you thinking? And she quotes the last line of What We Owe to Each Other, that working out the terms of moral justification is an unending task.
Which is, again, they do the perfect laugh thing where Chidi's like, oh, is that what you want?
To eat that
I
for
asked
dinner?
Janet.
Can you eat words? Because Janet said... But also that's such a big thought. I'm still looking at the quote. Moral justification. Deciding something's okay because you can justify it in your head. Is that ever wholly good? Is it always a selfish decision? And I think this episode points it that it is.
Because I feel like by existence, justification is a selfish act. You're trying to disprove something or prove something for the gain of something else, which
or just to make your life more comfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's a really true statement, and the fact that it comes in that book when it does, and Eleanor goes on to talk more about it, but I think that is such a true statement that sounds obvious, but in reality, we all ignore that
We
fact.
all justify things all the time,
constantly.
big and small.
The whole book is about how we should try to find rules other people can't reasonably reject, and then he ends it by saying, the search for how to find those rules will go on forever. I proposed a rule. The Chidis shouldn't be allowed to leave because it would make Eleanor sad. And I could do this forever. Zip you around the universe, showing you cool stuff. And I'd still never find the justification for getting you to stay. Because it's a selfish rule. I owe it to you to let you go.
Eleanor getting in eyesight with Chidi, just like direct eye contact, and also seeing Chidi as he listens to Eleanor say, I owe it to you to let you go. Chidi looks at Eleanor tearfully, and then I think the episode makes one of the smartest decisions that Eleanor, Chidi, Michael, and Janet have their reunion, their goodbye party, and we don't get to hear what they're saying.
And I got so pissed when they started playing this piece of music, because this song always makes me cry in general.
I just think I was
heard
familiar
it in
with
something else recently,
Really?
And I was like, fuck. But it's such an effective piece of music that builds in such an emotional way. And if they played the whole song, it just keeps building and building and building like that, like the whole time. It's so good.
And I also love these characters have become so real for us. So now these real characters get to share a moment together that's just for them. It's not for us. We don't know what they're talking about. We see Janet like give a real genuine laugh, and we don't know what was said that makes her laugh. And we see Eleanor have like a moment of shocked surprise and then into a smile and falling into Chidi, and we don't get to know exactly what was going on there. And because these characters are so living, breathing to me at this point, even though they've been dead the whole time, it's very nice. It makes me feel really good that, I don't know, these characters, we're not going to get to, usually at the end of a TV show, you get to think, well, these characters usually go on to live, and what are they going to do?
Yeah.
This is one of those shows, kind of like the show 6 Feet Under, which is about like a family that runs a funeral home, and the series finale involves every single character. We see how they go on to die. Every single character, we see what happens to them and how they die. So there's no question about what happens to any of those people,
after the
and there
show.
isn't here. So this is like that moment of you get to paint your head canon of what they're talking about and what made Janet laugh and what made Chidi and Eleanor embrace like that. It's nice.
It's so cute. I will say I would take... Now, I don't want this to happen.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I would have watched a very mini 3-episode Tahani as an Architect
Oh, yeah.
epilogue. Throw in a couple Janet appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that this is where it should have ended. Did you think I was
I know
saying
that.
Okay.
No. You're saying...
I like that we get to see
I
Tahani.
heard every word that you said,
you're
Zach.
Right, you're going a different direction. I like that we get to see Tahani again in this episode, and that we see her for a moment as an architect, just proving that, of course, she really fits in that environment. We get another shot of Eleanor and Chidi on the couch looking out at the world and being together. This scene is amazing. Eleanor talks about never being good at being sad, and how true is this? She was told not to be sad by her mother growing up, and it's made into a joke, like so many of us make these things into jokes in our life. But it's hard to, when you're grown and groomed to think that being sad is a bad thing, and you need to like push that away or turn it into something productive. This is a moment in existence that is sad. Everything about it's sad. That doesn't make it bad. It's okay to be sad and for them to be sad together. And that's hard for Eleanor to do.
Yeah, I think just harkening back to part 1, when Janet asks Michael how he's doing, and he's like, I'm sad. And just so you know, like, you can be sad too. And Janet's like, I am a little sad. But Janet's sadness is different than Eleanor's because while we as humans have memories, you know, obviously we talked about the way that Janet processes time and how beautiful a scene that is. For Eleanor, she knows that however much longer she's there, which could be eons, it could be a day, you don't
Eons
know.
of eons.
Yeah, she's gonna have only memories of Chidi. And
a Cannonball Run 2 videotape of Chidi.
Exactly. I think there's something so beautiful about the last scene of the penultimate episode of the show is Chidi and Eleanor sitting, staring out at their eternity, and this is them sitting, staring out at the end of it together. And I think that's a really emotional visual, and it's just done so well.
She asks Chidi for a quote of wisdom from Kant or Locke to throw at her. And this is my favorite William Jackson Harper moment of the episode. Of course, this might be my favorite moment of the entire episode, actually.
Yeah, this is high up for me in moments of the show. His delivery of this is like, I think it's so beautiful.
A show that's been so focused on moral philosophy, rules, and regulations, and now Chidi, at the end of that experience, the way he says, those guys were focused on rules and regulations. If you want answers here, you're going to have to turn to the East for the spiritual way to look at things. And I really think that's effective. That Chidi, who's so books and words and rules, is like, no, you've got to, it's deeper than that. There's like a feeling now, and there's a spirituality in the end of his existence. And he points Eleanor in that way with a speech. One thing I love about Chidi's monologue here is the way that it's written and delivered to not feel like a prepared thought. He's kind of finding it as he says it. Like in moments, what is it? When he's talking about the wave, he says you can see it, measure it, its height, the way its sunlight refracts when it passes through, and it's there, and you can see it, and you know what it is. It's a wave. That sounds like someone who's coming to what he's trying to say as he's saying it. And I think that just shows how good the dialogue in this show is, and how good William Jackson Harper is at saying Chidi's brainy stream of consciousness as if it's coming from his own brain in that second. It's
absolutely.
so good. The wave crashes in the shore and it's gone, but the water is still there. The wave was just a little different way for the water to be for a little while. That's one of the conceptions of death for Buddhists. And we've talked, I think it was off pod last week, talking about religion, how Buddhism seems to be like the religious practice, because we grew up in such a Christian area. And I feel like a lot of Christians at least have like some respect for the beliefs in Buddhism, because it's about giving back to the world and like feeling good and finding inner peace and all that. And how can you really argue with that? And same for atheists. You can't really shake a stick at Buddhism. They seem to have some stuff figured out.
I think that's what I was saying to you, but when we were talking about it, is that if you were to do, if there was one that I think would rock, you'd rock with most of it, Buddhism's probably the one.
Yeah.
Buddhism's pretty lit.
Buddhism's pretty lit. Yeah. Eleanor says, not bad, Buddhists. And Chidi goes back with, no, not bad. None of this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Did you know
really
that canonically, Zach, the Sun Wukong, who Goku is based on from Dragon Ball Z, canonically beat Buddha in a fight?
There was no need to open that with, did you know? I didn't. Chidi is the wave, and he's going to return to the ocean where he came from, and that's where it's supposed to be. And the time we spend alive is just the time that the water changes form and becomes a shape for just a little while. But it's still just water, and that water's going to crash, and it's going to return. I don't know where that lines up with my own thoughts on spirituality and mortality, and I think that's a good way of looking at the temporary nature of life and being comfortable with how it's meant to end. But I don't know what I feel about returning to some ocean. I don't want to be like, I don't want to kelp. I don't want any fish shitting in my being.
Well, too late. That ship has long sailed. Harkening back to something that I could talk about for hours, but I will spare the internet with that today. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh my god, yeah.
The whole principle of it, I think there's a joke, like primordial soup joke that gets tossed around a lot, but the idea of instrumentality, which is kind of the spiritual philosophy of the end of that show, is that we're all a part of each other. Now that show takes more the like, no one is truly complete because we're not all together. Like, pieces of me are not complete because they're pieces of you, and pieces of you are, that sort of idea.
Well,
is that
and then
we all make each other whole all together.
The staunch atheist side of that is that we all share the same atoms. And like the atoms that I breathe to become part of my body were once a part of someone who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. Yeah,
I've got Helen Keller's atoms inside me right now.
Really? You should probably let them go.
I can not happen. I'm hanging on to these. But the idea is that, we all kind of, to achieve a perfect world, we would all need to kind of return to that literal ocean,
a little culty,
of being together in order to each live our perfect lives together, because then we'd finally be whole. So we would have all the parts of ourselves and all the parts of everyone else within us, which is kind of a more anime version of what Chidi's talking about, but I found it interesting how
some of the same spirituality
those two things are.
Yeah. Eleanor lies into Chidi and asks one last favor, that he says goodbye to her now and leaves before she wakes up. And they lie together. And like that moment of celebration earlier, we don't get the goodbye. That's for them. We don't get their last words to each other. They just lie together, and we fade to Eleanor waking up the next morning, and he's gone. And she feels the weight of him being gone, and then is instantly delighted when she sees what he's left for her. And there's so much great show don't tell all around this finale, that this sexy Chidi calendar, it's a funny joke, and it also just encapsulates how well Chidi knows Eleanor and knows what would Eleanor want to remember me by. Something that objectifies me that she can put on the wall and like ogle at all the time. It's so delightful. And I don't know. I would have even liked like a shot of Chidi having Janet help take pictures. Yeah. It really delighted me too. And this moment made me tear up because Chidi's gone, but what they had won't ever be.
Yeah.
And that was a physical reminder for her, and I really liked it. She sighs, and she tearfully flips through it and laughs to herself, and I love that. So we return to the forest. Janet takes Chidi to the arch, and as she says to everyone, you can sit on that bench as long as you'd like, and whenever you're ready, you just walk through. He's ready. He's been ready. It's not like a get me out of here thing. He's at such peace that he doesn't need to sit and find peace. He's been at peace. He's been sitting in his peace. So he brings in Janet for a hug, and Chidi walks through the arch.
That goodbye was really emotional for me because I feel like Janet and Chidi have undergone the greatest changes throughout the show.
Well, Eleanor too, but I guess she does. I see what you're saying.
I think Chidi's gone through more of a change than Eleanor has. And I think Janet has gone through more of a change than Eleanor has. Michael's in contention, but I think Michael was always
definitely
this way.
Yeah.
He just is more out about it. I think Chidi went from his entire life not being able to make a decision to this episode deciding, okay, I'll stay. Okay, I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm ready. It's time to do it, you know, and deciding all of those things because he knows it's right with his soul. And Chidi could have never done anything like that. If Chidi knew that there was a door he could walk through and never exist, but he would feel eternal peace to do it, Chidi would anguish about that for the entirety of the time.
He would always have a reason why he can't do it yet. Yeah.
You know, Janet went from essentially walking Google to someone that can help let somebody be at peace when they're ending their existence. Yeah. And that's seeing them who have grown together through so many things. And Janet's been right by Chidi's side and has been so instrumental in Chidi's growth and being the one he turned to when he didn't know what to do usually. Yeah. That's a closeness that I think is understated but really important. So that hug goodbye made me very emotional.
Well, Janet's last moment with each character is very powerful. And I think I don't have qualms, but if I had a qualm, it's that I think Janet deserves a little bit more of a send-off than she gets, because she just provides space for everybody else. Yeah. And those scenes take my breath away. And her performance as Janet and how Janet provides for people in those scenes, it takes my breath away. And it reminds me how Janet has that connection with Chidi because she has that connection with each of these characters by the end of the show, and how much of the rock of the group Janet really is and has always been. I think it makes it really clear that she is the person that people want to spend their last moments with. Yeah. And Chidi walks through the arch and he returns to the ocean. He becomes water again. And Janet sighs. And then Jason pops from behind a tree and says, "Oh, Dip, you're back." I really remembered this moment last week, so it's not as fun of a surprise as it was the first time, because you get such they walk through the door, we think, and that's the end. And then no, Jason's here again. It's lovely to see Jason one more time, to see Janet see Jason one more time, and then to see how Janet will never interfere with Jason being Jason. He's going to be him. He's not going to understand her reference to being a monk, and she doesn't have to explain it to him. That's okay. It's fine. Jason's going to be Jason. He's back. Janet's really shocked. It's funny to see such a shocked face on Janet. Yeah. Who knows everything. When she is truly surprised that Jason is still there.
I got a nice Jason Janet shipping real life moment recently because Manny Jacinto just posted some gorgeous photos of him on a staircase, and Darcy Carden commented in all caps "Sir" with like the sweating tongue out emoji, and I was
That's very cute.
I wish I ship. I'm here for it.
Remember how I made you something and I thought I lost it because it wasn't in my pocket? Turns out it was in my other pocket. By the time I found it, you were gone. I was just gonna leave it for you, but I was worried it would get eaten by that magic squirrel. So I decided to wait for you to come back. Every so often a different Janet came, but I knew it wasn't you.
Jason, it's been like 1,000 Baramies.
I know, but I wanted to see you again. It was actually pretty easy to wait. I sort of just sat quietly and let my mind drift away. Thought about you and the infinity of the universe.
I think this is all worth it for the montage of him being.
It's so cute.
And I love that for Jason, because if there is a character who walked through the door maybe before they were actually ready, I think it might have been Jason, who didn't get the chance to just sit and be and reflect on his existence and find his peace. I really like it.
Well, it's almost after Janet tells Jason, "My memories of you were the same as experiencing them," Jason just got 1,000 Baramies of getting to just sit and enjoy Janet and think about her and think about how peaceful and mindful he can be now remembering her, and that she is peace to him. And so he got 1,000 more Baramies to just enjoy that feeling, which I think is really beautiful.
It is really beautiful. It's a very sweet moment. Kind of like a monk. What do you mean? He puts the necklace on her, says, "It looks good, not a girl." They get another kiss goodbye. And then, this is so Jason. Jason says, oh, hey, Chidi, wait up. As if he's going to see Chidi on the other side of non-existence when he gets over there. And he also runs through the arch. And Janet can't do anything but smile. Mm-hmm. She just smiles. Then a time jump, 3.22, Jeremy Bear Me later. Michael shows up with donuts to an empty office. He's prepared to go nuts with some donuts and is very surprised that no one is there because he thought that was going to get a really big laugh. Then the judge comes out of her office. She's not in her robes. She's not dressed for a meeting. She's wearing a Friday Night Lights t-shirt that's like within a specific continuity of the show, apparently, which Friday Night Lights t-shirt she's wearing. And she's surprised that Michael's there, that he didn't get the message that the meeting's not only just canceled, that the whole thing is canceled. The council's canceled. They don't need it anymore. The system that Michael helped build is working perfectly, and it's proving to run smoothly. Humans keep coming through. Vicky is killing it with training. It works. But Michael, I love that this becomes a Michael episode in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He's always been working towards something, and it's just been his motivation that's changed. But he's always been like working for the next big thing. And finally, for good reason, he needs to let that go. But of course, a fire squid that was bred to continually find new ways to torture isn't going to be very happy just staying still and watching Friday Night Lights and listening to podcasts. That he needs more than that to be happy. So Michael grasps for straws. You know, what if Sean's right and this system sucks and it's not the right one and we need to come up with another one? And the judge is like, yeah, shut up, relax, enjoy, take some time. Maybe, this is very like Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. She's like, maybe find podcasts. There's like 1 billion of them and they just keep going. That's very, very true. And it seems kind of meta that now we do a podcast about this.
Hey-o.
It's meta to me, I think. She's got a radio lab to listen to about how clams learn, and she leaves Michael. Cut to Eleanor flipping through the sexy mailman page of the calendar to the sexy scholar page of the calendar. I liked looking at the detail of how the calendar isn't just rows.
Yeah, that's
there's like
great.
a V dip curve.
And there's like
all
some
kinds of
different
stuff
blocks that
going
are
on.
like out in like our darkened and shaded end. It's really great.
I would love to have that. Like
oh my god, yeah.
Non-working, sexy, cheaty Bear-Me calendar would be great. She looks at the calendar. She gives it a kiss. She watches her sex tape and love confession again. I like that they kept the Cannonball Run 2 case. Do you think for this like 10 seconds, it's a little bit of a bummer that Eleanor's eternal existence after Chidi leaves is like, good morning, Chidi.
Yes.
What am I going to do today to remember Chidi? Watch when Chidi said he loved me. Aw, I love Chidi. It's sad. They don't play it as sad, but I think it's supposed to be sad.
I think it's a little sad, yeah.
But watching the video gives her an idea, something that drives her existence further. And I think we were talking earlier about both having an idea of something in this episode that happens that could have taken a little bit less time, and a little bit more time should have gone, I think, to Janet. But we get a whole stretch of Eleanor deciding her new motivation is to save Mindy St. Clair. I like the storyline.
I like it.
I think it would have worked in like the Patty episode for Let's Help Mindy want to join I think that could have been a whole plot line for an earlier episode.
Like we talked about spending more time in getting the good place set up. This could have been like, Mindy could have been like one of the first people to take the experiment. She would have been the perfect person to do it. Yeah. You know, taking somebody who's dead medium and seeing if we can get them up before we let everyone in. I think that would have made sense for an episode. I like that it happens. I think it tracks for Eleanor's storyline. I think we're both in agreement that they spent time on this in the finale, which I don't think is necessary.
The last stretch of the finale too.
Yeah. I thought that it was so interesting to take some after. I also got much more emotional watching the first half of the episode during Tahani when she and her parents hug. Yeah. That one got me this time too. But taking 3 storylines that we're really emotional about, then going into one, I don't have any tearful emotion about Mindy St. Clair. Yeah. I like her character, but I think
we needed to revisit Mindy and Derek, but I think it, like, okay, so now I haven't even thought about this. How much we get of Mindy versus how much we got of Simone in the series finale. doesn't feel right. She has one line in part 1, and it's about Tahani. It's not about her growth or even referencing when she went crazy and thought everything was bonkers and fake.
Yeah.
I think Mindy and Derek, I don't know. I don't even think I would have been... Here's me rewriting a really great series finale. This happens exactly as it happens. Derek is exactly how he is. Eleanor says, I figured it out. My big last task is to help you. And Mindy says, genuinely, get fucked. I'm good. And then Eleanor says, oh, shit. Well, then what is it? I thought that was it. What is it? And that helps her find that it's Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know that I needed or cared to see Mindy make that decision. Okay, so that gives her an idea, the Cannonball Run video, and she shows up at Mindy's house, and Mindy's not very fazed to see her. She doesn't really care. Whatever. Eleanor asks to speak with her, and Mindy says, fine, whatever. Calls Derek.
Hey, Derek.
Yes, Mindy? What can Derek do for you?
Eleanor and I are gonna talk for a bit, so go into your nether sphere.
That's Derek?
Mindy has rebooted Derek more than 151 million times. Derek is now both a singular point in space, and yet Derek also contains space itself. The nexus of Derek is without dimension. The moment of Derek's creation and the eventual heat death of the universe are now inexorably the same.
Ugh, you are so annoying.
The universal Derek singularity thing, I like it. I would have liked maybe even a little bit more of it. I love the swirling Jimmy Neutron Adam
Derek
Martini glasses with a Derek head in it.
That's really funny.
I think it's funny.
It's
not my favorite Derek, but it's a good way for Derek to come back one more time.
I had the thought, I was like, if they're short on like architects, why not let super advanced like Netherverse Derek just make shit?
That's a good point, because
he's like way more advanced than Janet at this point.
And as well, he is kind of a question mark, because so far he's been kind of tortured by being stuck with Mindy. And now Mindy soon is going to potentially be removed.
So where the fuck's Derek gonna
What's
be?
gonna happen to the universe Derek?
Maybe the Tahani Architect spinoff, Janet and Derek remarry.
That's not a bad idea. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they should ever do the Frasier of The Good Place about Tahani being an architect, but I think Derek would have to be a part of it for sure.
Yeah.
That's the end of Derek. We don't see what the new reboot is. We don't see what happens to him when Mindy, or even if like Eleanor came thinking she needs to help Mindy and then is convinced by how horribly she's treated Derek that she needs to like rescue Derek. That would have even been kind of
that'd be fun.
I don't know. So the two girls get a beer together to chat, and Eleanor tells Mindy how she's now looking for the thing to make her feel complete now that Chidi's gone and Tahani's gone, or busy, and Jason's gone. She thought it would be reconnecting with her parents or finding truth and light in her friendships, but she now thinks it might be something else, and maybe it's Mindy. She wants to convince Mindy to take the test and go through the system. I do like the way that they drive a parallel between Eleanor's journey and Mindy here. I do think what this does best is show us how far Eleanor's come, because she is very much like Mindy. She says, when I first met you, I thought, oof, well, there's a chick I understand, lone wolf, totally independent, knows what she wants, cocaine and self-pleasure. But she actually thinks that Mindy is a version of her if she had never met and connected with the people and beings that led her to become the person that she did. What comes to your mind when you say that line? Is it Austin Powers? Because it is for me.
That's probably the funniest one
We're
of
not
those.
so different, you and I.
I feel like, I mean, obviously that's why Austin Powers did it, but especially when we were growing up, every single freaking villain, every villain in every movie. We're not so different. We both have a lust for power. The only difference is I'm not afraid to use it. Like that's
very true.
We
should write a superhero movie.
We did.
It'd be so easy.
The Dark Knight Rises, a Triple X porn parody. Did you forget?
Yeah. There wasn't much superheroing in that.
It's going to be extremely painful for you.
Not a lot of super heroics in that. Just a lot of like acrobat type stuff. She sees Mindy as a worse version of her if she had never met her friends. A worst case scenario of what she could have become. No offense. Mindy says, none taken. But Mindy feels like she's fine. that she's comfortable. She likes her place. And Eleanor disagrees that you just don't know what better is at this point. Things could be better for you. There's new happiness for her in creating bonds with others, which she sighs. When you're such an introvert and you like drive in your being that you hate people, the thought of connecting with other people will like make your skin crawl. But the community is so important. And Eleanor is living proof.
One of our hierarchy of needs. They don't talk about Maslow much in this.
No, they didn't.
Interesting.
That's for the Tahani spinoff.
There we go.
Eleanor has some receipts of times that Mindy has offered to help them and kind of like inserted herself in their journey in ways that she didn't need to, like showing Eleanor the Cheaty video time and time again. Yeah. And Eleanor thinks that deep down Mindy really does care. But to someone like Mindy, caring feels like a lot of work, you know, putting your hand in the fates of a stranger is how she puts it, which keeps this thing going. It just seems like a lot of work. She can't imagine putting her fate in someone else's camp. Like, let me do me and leave me be. But her saying the fates of a stranger gives Eleanor an idea, and we cut to Tahani back in her headquarters learning to be a architect. And we've had enough time, even if you watch this as one thing removed from Tahani, that this little reunion of her and Eleanor, it's really nice. Eleanor and Tahani are great. They're excited to see each other. Tahani has a funny line when she says, "Mindy St. Clair, as I neither live nor breathe."
That's a funny one.
And Eleanor explains that she's trying to convince Mindy to join the system, to take her test, and Tahani doesn't need any other explanation. She's down. She's in. She's not certified yet, but it's not going to be long, and then she will, and as soon as she does, she will help Mindy. We get one last Sean appearance,
which
I really like it.
I forgot
it's so
that
funny.
He made an appearance, and it made me really happy that he was.
It's so funny to show how these bad place people work, the space that they fill in a new system where they're not exactly allowed to be as devious as before, but they still are who they are.
Really? Are you, like, certified or whatever?
Well, not yet, but it won't be long, right, Sean?
Well, I think you'll find that Tahani will be certified very soon. Did that sound evil? I didn't mean it to. I was sincere. Force of habit. I do think you'll find that Tahani will be certified very... Shut up, Glenn!
Great.
It was so good.
I love it. Mark Evan Jackson, one of the best supporting characters in the show. He's so funny.
Yeah.
Great way to go out. So Eleanor sends Mindy to go back and hang out with Floating Derek Head until Tahani is certified. And then she goes through the system. She takes her test. Mindy agrees. She feels ready for something new. Maybe it's also this both takes up too much time and moves too fast to feel emotional when Mindy has her "thank you so much for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself" moment. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not incredibly earned, but it's fine. I'm glad that they ended it. I was just so happy that they were moving on from this that I was like, okay.
The last line between the two, "I'm really glad I filmed you having sex." Me too. And then Janet takes Eleanor to the arch. I do like this idea. That Eleanor is just looking for the thing to end it, to feel complete. And then time and time again, she's like, fuck, no, I'm not done yet. What's going on here? I have an idea that maybe Eleanor didn't have to walk through the arch for the series to end. That she could have found her higher place task in life and work with Michael.
If they're like, okay, now since Michael's gone, Eleanor will be running the good place, or she'll be mayor of the test. I think that's, I don't love that.
Okay. She says again, you've heard this before, you can sit on that bench as long as you want. Whenever you're ready, just walk through. And Eleanor tries to convince herself she's ready. And in her frustration, her saying, I should be ready, but I'm not, she says a line that it's amazing that they never made this reference before in The Good Place. Do you know what it is? She says, damn it, Janet. Which is a Rocky Horror Picture Show reference. That's a song from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Damn it, Janet. And it's an obvious one, and they've never said that before. And I think it's on purpose. I guess you're not as much of a diehard.
I've never seen it all the way through. Most of my familiarity comes from the How to Live a Better Life episode, or
it's better.
Bob's Burgers episode. Yeah.
Thank you for putting my high school web series above Bob's Burgers on that list.
You're welcome.
Eleanor's not ready, but Michael is. I like this too. This is like a needed laugh, and also a believable way that Michael would try to vent his frustration at what's going on. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. I'm going out. I'm ready. I'm going through the door. My journey is complete. I love Ted Danson's delivery.
I'm going through the door. There's nothing left for me to do. I feel sated and complete.
I'm not sure you're thinking this through, dude.
Yes, I am. A calm has washed over me. Blah, blah, blah. Goodbye.
And then he walks through, but he's still on the other side. It's like, oh, did I walk through it wrong? I'm going to try this. It's going to look a little silly. And he like sticks his arms out and does like a shuffle through it. That doesn't work either. Eleanor asks, what are you doing? And he's returning his damn essence to the damn fabric of the damn universe. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, there we go. It's working now. It's working. I'm leaving. Bye. And my favorite just silly, stupid gag that this show decides to do in its last moments is we cut to black as he steps to the side for a commercial break. And then after the commercial break, he's still there. It didn't work. And he shows himself. Yeah. He like pops out again. That's pretty
super
funny. It's not working. He says it's not working because they're looking. But Janet tells him, no, it's not working because it's not for you. And Michael can't understand why. He invented the damn thing. Why can't he fucking kill himself by walking through the suicide arch? Why is it not working? And it's true here, even though this is kind of played for laughs. He says, you guys get to move on, but I'm trapped here forever. That's not fair. And it kind of isn't.
Yeah.
So he's going to try to piggyback on Eleanor. He says, look,
so
I'll piggyback on you while we walk through. We're going to trick it.
This is the most I've ever been aware of the size difference between Ted Danson and Kristen Bell. His leg looks so massive trying to
climb
her.
up on top of her.
It's hilarious.
That is really funny. I can hear an ice cream truck outside.
Well, you gotta
10. I need 10. Yeah. We got to finish this quick so I can go get a strawberry eclair.
Can you grab me? Is that your go-to ice cream truck?
I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of like prepackaged like ice cream cones and popsicles and stuff. I'd rather just have some ice cream.
I had some pretty good ice cream.
Ice cream sandwich. I like a good ice cream sandwich. Fat Boy brand ice cream sandwiches are really good.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you what brand of ice cream sandwich I prefer. What would you do?
It would be those if you had
for
them.
A Klondike bar. Doo-doo.
Eleanor sets Michael straight and takes him away. Look, come on, you're coming with me. It's giving her new meaning. Like, she's like, fuck, I can't die now. I've got to help Michael. And as she pulls at him, she says, damn, fire squids are heavy. So then Eleanor gets Michael a beer at her home and looks for options, things that maybe Michael could do to kill time. That ice cream truck is just going nuts, like right outside.
They know that you're in there. They're like, you better get the fuck out here.
I need to go let them know that actually I'm recapping a pretty thematically heavy moment in the series finale of my podcast. And I'll also take a fudge ripple, please.
You don't want the SpongeBob with one eye falling off or the Jimmy Neutron with the bloody face?
I don't think they do the Jimmy Neutron blood anymore.
Damn.
Jimmy Neutron hasn't been on air for 35 years.
You don't think that ice cream truck still has Jimmy Neutron? You don't think that they accidentally bought 1 billion Jimmy Neutrons at the ice cream truck storage warehouse, really thinking that it was going to have staying power? And now every ice cream truck still has Jimmy Neutrons left over, even though they haven't produced one since 2007?
Are you finished with your spiel? With your with your wormhole? You done?
I like a fudge pop person, like the like fudge sickle thing. That's what I get from the ice cream.
Do you have a traumatic childhood memory of your tongue getting stuck to something?
No,
like an ice cream.
I was so scared of it. If it was ice cream though, I could just eat it.
I know. I feel like I have this memory of getting my tongue stuck to like a cotton candy popsicle. And in my memory, it was like stuck to me for like a long time. Wouldn't it just melt pretty fast?
Yeah, they melt pretty quickly. Your tongue's
feel like
pretty fucking
it like
hot.
hurt. I feel it's like a childhood trauma memory. Anyway, Eleanor suggests that maybe Michael could design neighborhoods with Tahani, but Michael's already done that. And not only has he done it, when he's designed the ultimate one, it's kind of a letdown. It just feels like, what's he doing there? Michael's loved all of his time here and with these people, but with Jason gone, with Chidi gone, with even Doug Forsett putting the party down and stepping through the arch, what's he gonna do? Be like a retiree around the neighborhood he built? And him saying, what, am I gonna be like an old guy, like a sad old retiree? Eleanor thinks, oh, you kind of are like a sad old retiree. And it gives her an idea. And the episode just lost a little bit of steam during the Mindy thing, and it picks right back up here. It goes right back to working really well for me here. And as Michael goes on, maybe I'll have Janet make me a hardware store so I can buy a hex wrench I don't really need. Cut to Eleanor one last time on the other side of the judge, giving an idea to help fix the universal problems. And the judge says, cockamamie, that's what I think your idea is, cockamamie. But Eleanor thinks it's a great idea and thinks that maybe the judge does too. Do you remember watching this for the first time? Did you pick up what they were throwing down before it was thrown down?
I think the first time my first thought was, oh, they're going to figure out a way to actually have Michael retire. But
sure.
I didn't
but without
pick up
being
on
tortured.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it until like closer to the reveal what it really was. And I think it's
That's
brilliant.
probably
I think it's
closer to
perfect.
what it was. It is perfect.
I think it's a great plan, and I bet deep down you do too.
It sets a bad precedent.
Babe, no one else is ever gonna want to do this. Plus, if they ask, you just say, sure, pal, go save every soul in the universe, and then we got a deal. And think about it this way. If you do this, you'll never have to hear from any of us ever again.
Ooh. Now that is tempting. Because y'all are annoying. I mean, you did save the universe and all, but your tone. It's your tone. I know.
Cut to Michael in his office. Let's wrap this thing up. We're at the end of The Good Place. Michael's in his office, anxiously strumming at his guitar, as Eleanor opens up a green door for him and says, Michael, come on in.
Love that.
Yes. What I think this last stretch of the episode does so well, they ripped our heart out in the first part. Mm-hmm. They ripped our heart out, then gave us some time to sew it back in. So now as the series ends and we're thinking about like the end of our own lives and existences and all that, it makes us just feel so warm and makes us smile. And then in this show that solves all of the problems of being dead and the afterlife, in the end, it reminds us the beauty of being alive. Mm-hmm. And I think it's perfect. And I haven't gotten emotional talking about it for some reason, but I'm starting to feel it a little bit here that I just think it is a perfect ending for the show that it's been Eleanor's journey and Michael's journey this whole time. And for the way that both of their stories end and how they interconnect, it just works really well for me. Yeah, Michael walks through the door and he sees a museum of all of his human artifacts. There's paper clips, there's his bowling ball, and my favorite thing I saw was the case of Michael's human starter kit from earlier in the series.
Yeah, that was such
the gang
a cool.
built his kit. Do you remember any of this? Did it have a useless savings card in it? I think it might have.
It might have, yeah.
Eleanor explains that it hit her when he was walking through the door again and again that Michael's never going to be at peace until he gets the one thing he truly wants. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever says Michael's becoming human. No, you're a human now, Michael. Well, I guess they kind of do when Janet sends him off. But they let us figure it out. And Michael also knows exactly, because of course he never spoke, I want to be a human, turn me into a human, because even he would have never thought that possible. But when he's presented
he says, no way, and Eleanor's like, yep, that's right, you get to be a real boy, Pinocchio. She'll just say it there. But
yeah, you're right. But before, like in the moment before that, when Eleanor says you get the one thing you truly want, Michael doesn't have to guess.
No, he knows immediately.
He knows exactly what that is. He lets it sink in. And he looks to Janet, and Janet gives him a nod yes. He says, I'm going to be a real boy, Pinocchio, Eleanor says. The judge gave Janet the power to switch him. And she says, goodbye, fire squid. Hello, silver fox. How funny is it that if he's going to go get to live out as a human, it's still going to be as like a 70-year-old man?
Oh, yeah, he's starting.
Michael's ecstatic, though. He doesn't care. He would take a year, I bet, and be happy. And Eleanor tells him, yeah, I get you're excited, but you've got to be sure. I love the dig at his age.
You're gonna live down there for, like, some amount of time. You'll die, really die. Then you'll enter an afterlife test, be judged on what you did, the whole deal. At least so we think. While you're down there, this entire system could be changed. Sean might launch a coup. Someone could design a whole new system. You won't really know what's going to happen to you.
That's what makes it special. I won't exactly know what's going to happen after I die. Nothing more human than that. Besides texting people that you're 5 minutes away when you haven't even left the house.
I love Ted
this is
Danson's
great.
such a fucking pro.
That's great. That's great.
He nods and he thanks Eleanor so truly from the bottom of his new heart that he's about to have. And she smiles back proudly and says, "You're very welcome." It is very full circle, very warm, feels like a great period on both of these characters and their journeys together and separately. I love it.
It's so good. I think that there's so many relationships in this show that are so important, and Michael and Eleanor's has been the one, I think, with the most mutual understanding, but also they could be the most honest with each other about like, hey, get your shit together.
Well, because from the beginning, Michael's been, what's with this Eleanor?
Yeah.
There's something about her. She's not like any human I've ever had to torture before. She can figure shit out unlike anybody else. So of course she's the one that could figure out what Michael really needs more than he ever could. Michael and Janet meet at the doorman one last time with paperwork to go to Earth. Jeff, the doorman, offers him the clicker to return afterwards, but it's a one-way trip. I like the way that the doorman just kind of sizes Michael up a little bit and is like, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like, really? What's going on? He's like,
I think this whole stretch from this scene onward is near, like, I have no qualm. It's perfect. Even like this whole interaction with the doorman is so good.
And even the only qualm we had about this episode being the Mindy plot line, if that was like a B plot or even an A plot in an episode before this, it would have made perfect sense. It's only because it's the series finale, which makes it really not even that much of a qualm because it's a storyline that mostly works. And I don't know. Yeah, I think they really nailed it all over.
Yeah.
Michael has one last thing for the doorman. It's a real frog in a terrarium, a real frog.
I have something for you. Yeah?
He's real. It's real. He's a real frog.
Yes, it sure is.
Thank you. You know what? I got the perfect name for him. Mr. Jumpy Legs.
Oh.
I've been watching Glee lately, and this is Kurt's dad, and it's weird to go from Kurt's dad to him
homophobic dad.
He's real. No, he's not. He's based. He's not homophobic at all. He's like
at
the one
first,
person,
though, isn't he?
He has his like, well, look, it may not be what I pictured for you, but you're my son, and I'm gonna learn how to love it and support it.
A chair is still a chair.
The more the problems that their relationship has is like how the dad relates with other more masculine men compared to his gay son sometimes. He's not homophobic.
A patty is a patty.
I thought we were going to like cry or something in this episode of the podcast, and now you're Louis Armstrong wailing the SpongeBob song.
Mr.
Louis
Krabs
Armstrong,
sounds like that.
Louis Armstrong's the trumpet guy. Who's What a Wonderful World.
The same guy. He's
Okay.
multi-talented.
He does both.
Black people can do more than one thing, Zach.
He's real. It's real. He's a real frog. Oh my God. He's so thankful. I know the perfect thing to name him. Mr. Jumpy Legs.
That's a funny joke. I liked that.
Michael can't even help himself. He's like, oh, huh. You know, I thought you were gonna, well, never mind.
I feel that way every time one of my friends doesn't name their kid after me, and I'm like, what the
we
fuck?
thought of the perfect name. Something white and boring.
Yeah.
Damn it. Perfect to go with a Steven. Name your white kid Steven. It would make so much sense.
Yeah. Come on. It's a great name.
We're gonna name our kid after you for sure, me and Lil. I think it just makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll name my kid whatever you want him to.
I'll think about it. I'll get back to you.
Mr. Jumpy Legs, the front runner.
Michael and Janet walk down the bridge to the last door. I love this last scene between the two of them. It's just time and time again, this episode proves how important every relationship in the main core is to each other. And each one of them, you're like, is there a more important relationship than Tahani and Michael? Then you're like, is there a more important relationship besides Eleanor and Tahani? They're like, then Eleanor and Chidi, then Janet and Michael, then Janet and Eleanor, then Eleanor and Michael. Like, all of these core relationships are just so ingrained.
They're so, and I don't know that there is one more
hits
important
you
than
like
Janet
a ton
and
of bricks.
Michael.
I agree. I think it is.
The reason is friends.
I think there's a very strong reason why in this realm they are the last two characters to meet together, like Michael, for him to meet with Janet last. I guess Eleanor and Janet get more time together. So she gives him a driver's license and a social security card. You could poke some holes. And how does this work? She's just able to get like a real Earth thing. And is that going to get him in any trouble not having any like life history or anything? But don't think about it too hard. It's fine.
It's magic.
Here's your driver's license and your social security card. I set up a bank account for you. There's enough money in there so that you don't starve, but not so much that you become an entitled jerk.
Thank you, Janet.
Make a doctor's appointment as soon as you get down there. And no salty food. You have to keep your blood pressure down. You have blood now.
I'll be fine. I'll be okay.
I know. I just worry.
It's so cute. Michael, gingerly, I love the way he grabs her by the arms. And I love this, like hook, line, and sinker. I'll see you again, you know. I'll see you when I get back. And Janet's tiny little, oh, okay. I well up a little bit at that.
Yeah.
I well up a little bit at that still. Yeah. Because it's something Janet doesn't know. They don't know what's going to happen. And
yeah,
Janet just has to have faith.
I think it's so special.
He opens the door, and Janet has one last tip. It's about rental car insurance being a scam, but it's not. It'll help you out. I owe money for car rental accidents that I would not owe. I did say accidents that I would not owe if I had gotten the insurance. So think twice, kids. Think twice, Michael Reelman.
Yeah. Listen to Crash over here. He knows.
Michael walks through the door and comes out on the other side through a wall. And takes a deep breath, and you can see it in the lighting too when he says, "Man, it's hot," but everything's so positive because it's new. But it's a dry heat. It's a good
which
heat.
tells me I think he's in Arizona, which I love.
Oh, that's true.
And the
California.
Coyote place.
But Arizona,
California.
You're right. That would make a lot of sense.
California's a coastal state, not dry heat.
And as much of a crazy place we've learned Arizona is, someone like Michael who didn't exist before just now could show up and get along just fine.
I'm sure.
One last time, Janet explains the door and the bench to Eleanor, but this time she invites Janet to come sit with her at the bench for a while, and Janet offers her a margarita, and Eleanor, of course, takes it always. She really enjoys her last drink. I feel like she sips it like it's her last margarita ever, and it's really good. And just kind of shoots the shit one last time with Janet, starting with asking her top 3 not life moments.
Top 3 moments of your not life with us. Go.
You telling us that we should try to help other people on Earth. The moment that we all got into the good place for real, and then it's an 8 million way tie of every time Jason and I kissed. He was a really good kisser.
I bet he was.
I really like watching these performers do this, watching Janet come up with it, and watching Eleanor be touched when she's the basis of one of them. That's really so sweet. Cute. I think the writers picked the perfect 3.
I think so too.
They both have a moment where they agree about Jason, that he would be a good kisser, and I bet he would.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the more empty you can make your brain, the better you are at that type of thing. If you've got anxieties, if you've got stuff going on in your head, not so great.
Yeah, you just gotta relax all the muscles in your face and almost appear unlifelike. Yeah, that's how you be good at it.
It works.
Zach
for
and
me
I
every
just
time,
can
Steven.
lay there still unmoving for hours, our lips making physical contact, just drooling all over the place, hardly taking a breath in, but boy are we exhaling.
People come in, they think we've died of a drug overdose, but we're just deep in transcendental makeout session. Yuck. Janet wonders how Michael's doing, and does it totally track? Should she be able to keep track of Michael somehow? Or
maybe, I don't know.
But here she wonders how Michael's doing, and Eleanor assumes he's doing what every other human is doing. And this sequence, we've said it a bunch, but this is such a beautiful sequence, the way they match up what Eleanor is saying to Janet with what Michael's actually doing.
Yeah, that's really well.
And also just really mirroring that to the human experience. Okay, we see Michael at a New Year's party. He has some good days. We see Michael talking to a friend who's going through a scare with their partner's health, it seems. And she says there's going to be some bad days. He's got a few friends. I was already welling up. And this was the moment, the first time I watched it, when we meet Michael's dog and he feeds him Chinese food. And he says, "Good boy, Jason." That was when I like...
Yeah,
that was when I like cry noise blubbered and was like, oh, they had me and then they got me, right? That's so so
because he
perfect
misses
and
him.
sweet.
And
And of
it's
course,
like-
it's a dog named
Yeah.
Jason. And of course, he's best friend. As a human, Michael would be best friends with a dog and share his food with them. I love it so much. Eleanor says he's got a few people he can't stand. And then we see that Michael's texting
Bobby.
he's 5 minutes away to Bobby at the bar. He's learning some things all by himself as we see him. I love this one. He burns the shit out of his hand, grabbing a TV dinner out of the microwave and drops it on the floor, and then just starts cracking up hysterically.
It's so good.
That like, oh my God, I'm living, I'm doing it. And this stupid little tiny thing is, oh my gosh, I didn't think and I burned myself. And I think that's like a good mentality to have, is to find the like craziness and the silliness in life and to see it. Ted Danson just delivers this being that's never experienced anything before so well from an actor that's so experienced. It's just perfect. And Eleanor says hopefully he learns to ask for some help when he needs it. And we get a really important cameo as Michael takes an ad for guitar lessons. And when he actually follows through, he finally learns an E chord thanks to Ted Danson's real life wife, Mary Steenburgen.
I love
Virgin.
her.
Did you know that they're married?
I assumed so when she was the guest star.
It's really
and
sweet.
I was like, either they're married in real life or that one of these later scenes she's going to be like with him or something. But I kind of
It's interesting comparing the Good Place finale to other Mike Schur shows, The Office and Parks and Rec, almost specifically Parks and Rec, which like spans a lot of time.
Yeah.
And something about it like doesn't totally work for some reason. Whereas this episode, you can have the actors' real life spouses show up. You can have anything happen. You can have Nick Offerman show up to talk about a chair.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel too cute. I don't know how they were able to manage that tone, but this is kind of the perfect Mike Schur show and the perfect Mike Schur show finale. It just bleeds his heart all through it and his silliness, and it just works perfectly. So yeah, he finally learns an E chord. He gets it right thanks to Mary Steenburgen.
He's messing up and trying again and messing up again and then getting things wrong and then trying to make them right. That's what everyone does.
I hope at least. And I've said a bunch of times in this podcast, I hope when I'm at the end of my life, I'm still working towards goals. And this like encapsulates that feeling that I have about life of you mess up, you try again, and then you mess up again, and then you try to make the wrong things right. And it's never about getting it right all the time. It's about always striving to get it right next time.
You learn.
Thanks, Alanis.
You learn.
Janet and Eleanor toast to Michael. And then Janet wonders to Eleanor, what happens when people walk through the door? Even then, we think we know because we were explained that they're done, but nobody knows what happens when you die, when you walk through the last door until it happens. Janet doesn't know. It's the one thing she doesn't know. And Eleanor says, I don't know either. I guess the wave returns to the ocean. I like this. What the ocean does with the water after that is anyone's guess. That is how I feel about spirituality. I'm so on board with the wave returning to the ocean. I have no idea what I think then the water becomes or if it becomes anything. Neither does Eleanor, and you don't have to know.
I think
you
it's
just like
really beautiful
wiped out
in
a second ago and smiled at yourself, didn't you?
I tipped back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that it's really there's just something so comforting in not knowing, but being okay with whatever happens.
You don't need to know.
What do I
Calm
care?
down,
I'm
folks.
dead. Chop me up, throw me in the trash, put me in a soup.
Obviously, it's stressful that we're going to, that's the human curse, is having to live with the knowledge that you're going to die. Most animals don't know that they're going to die. We do.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But you're here right now, right? You're here right now, and that's cool.
Yeah.
So calm down. Stop thinking about death all the time, folks. Oh, man.
What the ocean does with the water after that is anyone's guess. But as a very wise, not robot once told me, the true joy is in the mystery.
Do you mind if I stay here until you're gone?
Only if you say that thing I taught you.
I hate to see you walk through the final door at the edge of existence, but I love to watch you leave.
There we go.
Again, you keep saying what relationships are the most important.
Yeah.
But Eleanor's the one that Janet breaks her facade of doing things the right way and just says, "Can I stay? I want to be here with you while you're here."
Yeah.
Eleanor stands and they hug a last time, a really nice hug. Eleanor approaches the arch. She walks through, and this time we get to follow her through to the other side as she starts to glow. Little dots of light start to fill the air as we zoom up to the sky and we fade to white. And I really like the visualization of the dots of light as the water. We don't know what happens. We get a hint that maybe we do know what happens in this little epilogue here. But we don't know exactly what's going to happen with these dots of light. But the essence that created Eleanor Shellstrop, the trash bag from Arizona, who through friendship and personal growth and studying and learning and through challenges became the savior of all humanity one way or another, at least the person who all of this was able to happen because she had the stick-to-itness to keep everybody on task. And it's very comforting to know that, and like I said, maybe the episode didn't need to have Eleanor walk through the arch. It's very comforting to know that when she does, that she's still there. She's part of the ether, and like with Janet, the memories with her will always be there. And I think it's a really, really beautiful send-off for the show, for the character, and for this to be the first visualization we get of the dots of light spreading out, that it's Eleanor who we see it. So we fade to white, and then we get an epilogue, and I think the show could have ended right there.
Yeah, it could have.
And instead, it ends with like, we just solved all of the problems of life and death. This is still a sitcom. And we can't resist ending with something that we set up so long ago. So the music changes. I love the music for the epilogue. It has this like, there's like how The Good Place, the credits start rolling and then there's always another thing. It's one last, there's always one more. What's happening now? There's this music change. I thought that had to be it. What's happening now? And a man who we've never seen before, suddenly we're being asked to follow this new character, walks to a mailbox. Did you notice that like the arch he walks under is shaped like a bow tie? It's like an overhead shot, and the thing that he's walking underneath kind of looks like a bow tie.
Wow.
And, okay, so he walks under this thing, the bow tie, and the dots of light start to come into this frame too. So the man throws a piece of mail away after checking his mail, but just then, one of the dots of light hits him. And that like just gives him a tiny little nameless push to pick the mail back up, grab it out of the trash, and deliver it to its rightful owner. So he finds the right building, and human Michael opens the door, and the guy returns his mail. Michael is so lovely and ecstatic and opens it up to find his first savings card ever. And he thanks the stranger. He's like, thank you so very much. I love how there's not some, Michael's like a creep joke that the guy's like, I did the right thing. And I made a connection with a stranger because of it. He says, oh, yeah, no problem. You take it easy. And he starts to leave. And then he hears, take it easy. And Michael says, I'll do you one better. And he really locks in with his friend like when you're a youth pastor trying to get a kid to come to Wednesday service. He says,
I'll do you one better. I'll say this to you, my friend, with all the love in my heart and all the wisdom of the universe. Take it sleazy.
Take it sleazy.
Perfect
And it
works.
way to end it.
It worked for me the first time. It worked for me the third time. It works. I love it so much. The man smiles and kind of like does a breathy laugh, and then he nods and walks off with that wisdom. Michael closes the door, and I really like that the very last image is he shakes his head to himself and just kind of smiles and laughs at how silly it all is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool sentiment to end this all on. There's so many big lessons, but don't take it all too seriously. Get excited over
sleazy.
someone returning your mail. Take it sleazy. Be able to laugh it all off. And yeah, that's the end of the series. That's the end of The Good Place. We've done it.
We did it. Press the applause woo button.
This is gonna come to a surprise. I kind of like don't I don't know what to say. I don't really know what to say.
I mean, I think what's nice about this show, and obviously we'll have things to say on the round table next week, tune in, but the show kind of does a good job of explaining it. So if you haven't watched this episode in a while, watch the finale. Just sit in the peace and the stillness of it all. I think there's a couple of moments that really lean into that stillness, and you know, obviously after the door closes, it cuts to like a song in the credits. But even that, I think, is just a nice moment to just sit and kind of reflect and just be happy with the fact that you are.
Yes. And how happy I am that I get to be in a world with media like The Good Place that has taught me important spiritual lessons, has made me look at a lot of things in a different way. That's one of the reasons I'm so grateful that we did this show, is I feel like it's helped me inch along on like my road to finding my flavor of spirituality, because it did such a good job at making up some answers to things in a way that like makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a really good show. And you're right about sitting with the piece of this episode. I bet there are people who avoid watching the Good Place finale because they remember it as being heartbreaking. And there are heartbreaking moments. The Good Place finale is so encapsulating of life. There are some desperate, heartbreaking moments. And right after, there is some peaceful joy and a sense of belonging. And I think the feeling I'm left is absolutely not one of sadness. It's just one. Like that last stretch, the Michael stretch, it just makes me smile and feel warm and feel nice. And that's what this show does, and what Community did in a way that not many shows can. That just make me feel glad to be alive and to be talking about TV with my friend. What a great finale. I think the only reason it's not perfect is because it's perfect. So the things that aren't perfect stand out.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So good.
Man, well, you're right. We have a lot to talk about next week as we wrap up The Good Place proper, as we wrap up into the Time Knife proper, which is crazy.
It's true.
The series ends, credits roll, and it's a produced version of Michael's song, which I think is really funny. I really like that. That's not something you got when it originally aired, because it was like up next on NBC as the credits roll. That's like a Netflix thing, and I think it's a really funny choice.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's wrap things up here. We've recapped the entire series of The Good Place. Every single episode of the show, we've ended by giving a good place and a bad place point to the characters we feel earn it. Let's start with the bad place.
I didn't have one coming in, and you were pretty confident before we recorded.
Yeah.
Because yours changed.
No, it's Mindy because of how she treats Derek.
Yeah.
Even if she agrees to change, I don't think she really does anything good. And I don't think many people do bad in here, so that makes it a pretty obvious Mindy for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there 100%. It's Mindy.
I asked you before we started recording if I can do something kind of dumb and a bit of a stretch with my Good Place. And get ready to roll your eyes, folks, because here's what I'm going to do.
No, hold on. Before you go, I'm going to go, because you're not going to... I thought we were doing the same dumb thing, but you're going to do a dumb thing that I'm going to hate, aren't you, Zach?
I thought we were on the same page, but maybe we're not. Go ahead.
Okay, on the count of three, we're going to say who we're giving it to, okay?
No, that's not going to work. You need
One,
to... No, I'm not doing it.
3, Jason the dog. He's the goodest boy.
That's dumber than mine. That's dumber than mine. Is that real? You're giving it to Jason the dog?
Yes, I'm giving it to Jason the dog. He's a good boy. We learned that. He is a good boy. That is all we know about him. We have it in text that all dogs go to heaven. Jason the dog's a good boy.
You're going to hate what I'm about to do.
I know, because you're like, I'm going to give it to everybody, because everybody's good.
Yeah. I'm going to give it to Eleanor, to Chidi, to Tahani, to Jason, to Michael, and to Janet.
Boo. I resent that.
But don't you get it, too?
Boo!
It's the last episode. All of this good feeling is because of how much have we been talking about the importance of all these relationships, what they mean to each other, and now we got to send them all. They made it to the good place. We're saying goodbye to them.
I would like to remind you, Zachary, what this...
That I told you not to do this.
All
that this,
about.
Like, sets a precedent. Okay.
The question is not who was good, it was who earns the most good place points throughout the length of time in the episode.
Okay. And you think it's fucking the dog? You think it's the dog, Jason?
Jason the dog brought joy to a man that doesn't know what it's like to be human. He was Michael's first friend that wasn't eternally, whose destiny was not eternally tied to his existence and mood.
There have been moments where we are in a state that we do not know what it's like to be human, and a dog has been there to ground us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes.
So since do you want me to give just one? Do I have to give just one?
No, you can keep your answer.
No, I'm giving just one because as I said all their names and really thought about this episode, it is more clear than what I thought.
There's a right answer. I just was stuck between two and couldn't pick one, so
I do really want to highlight all of these characters. These are some of the most interesting, dynamic, complex characters of the main cast of a sitcom that's ever been. So much character growth, so much to track and progress as these characters got from their starting point to their end point. And I think I am going to change my mind. I'm going to give it to one person, and I think the last good place point of the podcast has to go to Janet.
Yeah, 100%.
Because what's more selfless than happily guiding all of your friends to the next place where you will never see them again, to let go of your colleague that you never thought you'd have to lose, and to still be there to serve and to be a part of the purpose that you were brought into the world for. Yeah. I think that's incredible. Not that there's anything selfish about Jason, Chidi, and Eleanor going through the arch and ending their existence. It's earned, and you get to do it selflessly and with pride. But there is something about Janet. She's not like Michael. There's no part of her is like, well, what about me? What if I get... No, it's not about that for her. She has her purpose. And I really love that. Darcy Carden is a heartbreaker in this last episode. Yeah. So I'll give it to Janet. We'll make it Janet.
See, friends, booing works. If you don't like something, boo it.
Well, Steven, we've done it. We've recapped all 53 episodes of The Good Place.
Wow.
As we get out of here, what are some closing Good Place recapping thoughts as we are finishing doing this about this show for the last time?
Buddy, I just want to thank you because it's been such a fun
You said that
journey.
last week. Do me one better. I'm just kidding. I'll take it. I'll take my flowers.
Ready.
Give me the flowers.
I'm going through the door.
I would be Eleanor in that situation. I'd cry and throw a fit until you stay.
It's just been, this is a really special show for me for a lot of reasons. And it's been a very harrowing experience to get to go through it again. I mean that in the best way.
This has always been a very special show for me. And now, because of this, it's going to have to be one of the most special shows ever to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel closer and more involved with it than about any other show because of how much we've looked at it. It's been so nice to see how well pretty much every angle of this show holds up.
Oh my God, yeah.
And at the same time, how starting the show, my apprehension was almost that it was going to be too good. So we wouldn't have a lot to talk about other than saying that was good, that was good. That's how the best episodes of Community were. Yeah. But instead, it's just time and time again shown how rich of a text for a network sitcom this is, how thoughtful it is, how much there is to think about and to discuss, and how much it shows and doesn't tell and leaves you to make some of your own philosophical choices while watching the show. It's been an honor to talk through it. And I feel like I'm smarter and more spiritual because of the year we've spent recapping the show.
Absolutely.
And no matter what, whatever we do next, like people know what our next podcast is. We don't yet. It's going to be different. It's going to be really different. So I've really enjoyed the types of conversations that this show has allowed us to have on air. And I'm really thankful for all the people that listen, that want to be a part of these conversations that we're having. And I hope that continues throughout our break and into our next show. And let's do some housekeeping stuff as we close out this episode, starting by the Patreon. It's not going anywhere. Patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. During our hiatus, the second season of The Basement will begin bi-weekly on the Patreon. You'll get occasional episodes of the pre-show live streamed on the Patreon. And as soon as we get into starting our next podcast, the Patreon will get it first. They'll be the first to know and hear about it. And we've got to record a little special one-off Firefly podcast because our new $50 patron, Vic D, as one of her perks, she gets to choose something for us to review. So we'll be doing a fully Patreon exclusive review of an episode of Firefly, which neither of us... Have you seen it?
Not in a long, long time, but I have seen it before.
We're going to come in very fresh to an episode of Firefly. I think that'll be fun. A lot going on. Patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Thank you very much to everyone who does and ever has supported us on Patreon. And if you are considering, $5 a month can help you support your favorite little Zach and Steven. Right?
Yeah, it can help keep our britches nice and tidy.
Nice and moist.
Yeah. Come follow us on Twitter and Instagram if you're a Time Knife fan, then over at Time Knife Pods, where to find all that information. If you're going to check out some of our other shows, we have a community podcast, we have a Cowboy Bebop podcast. Those all have socials and links as well.
Yeah, of course. It's a great time. Some of our bigger supporters on Into the Time Knife, maybe you haven't even listened to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. If anything, because the beginnings of that podcast will be kind of rough compared to where we are now, go back for the Zach and Steven origin story. Like, see where we came from and how we got to this point. Another thing is, I would love in the hiatus, I want to do some interviews again. I think now that we're not recording, I'll send out some emails. I'll see if we can talk to any community or Good Place people, and let's do that.
But check out some of our interviews with Joel McHale, Darson Solomon, the one, the only, why am I forgetting literally
Andrew
the director
Guest.
of the Community? Yeah, Andrew Guest.
The writer, co-writer of the Community movie.
Of the Community movie. That was a really, really cool interview.
Yeah.
Check out some of those. They're super
There's like
fun.
150 episodes on the You Can't Disappoint a Podcast feed. So go check that out. And all there is left to do here, not for the last time, but for the final time recapping an episode of the podcast, Steven, why don't you get us out of here?
From inside the Time Knife. Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And I'll do you one better. I'll say this to you, my friends, with all of the love in my heart and all the wisdom of the universe. Take it sleazy.
Take it sleazy, everybody.
One time I tried to sing about spring and a storm, but you know how it goes. Blah, 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 blah. All along. Won't you please stop complaining? I'm playing a song. But all the rain comes down the same, falling to from where it came, on the ground and back around up into the sky. I wish you could have heard the music when the clouds crowd overhead. I finally felt enthusiastic. I finally felt alive. Blah, 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 blah. So you said, would it please you to listen to thunder instead? When the rain came down that day, and it drained my soul away, and I wondered why I even bothered to try.
Mr. Moon,
Yeah,
tell us about the sky.
the sky is deep and dark and eternally high. Many people think that's where you go when you die.
Do you?
Well, I think you return to obscure or wherever you were before you were. But I won't let you lose yourself in the rain. We have so much left to sing. There's a storm for every spring. All you see and you and me became the star. Explosive.
Excellent.
Nice. That was awesome.
Great work. Send me your stuff. Enjoy your day. Thanks for your time. This was great.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye.
Have a good one.